For the start of the Kobalt Tools 500 from Atlanta. More than 100 races here at this track, and a great scene. Dale Earnhardt, the late Dale Earnhardt, 9 times. He's won the most here. Among active drivers, Bobby Labonte has won 6 times with Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers from the Hollywood Hotel. And, you know, a number of the drivers have called the surface here, while they like it, they said it was abrasive. I thought they were talking about us on the pre-race show.
They probably are.
But why do they like an abrasive racetrack?
Well, because the car itself, the tires will wear out. All of a sudden, the car is going to change. And it really kind of goes back to the fact that this racetrack is a driver's racetrack. The guy can really affect the wear of the tires as well as everything. I mean, here's some of that excessive wear we're talking about right now.
Part of your Verizon
checklist. But this is what these tires are going to look like today. You're going to wear them out. We're going to see some drop-offs. So that's one of the things that this racetrack brings to it. It's rough, and you got to hunt and kind of search around for your line.
All right, so speeding on the track, but not pit road.
Yeah, do not get caught speeding on pit road. I mean, speed around this racetrack, that's the key thing. We want to have speed on the track, not on pit road, because 9 guys got caught Las Vegas last week, including the 18 of Kyle Busch. Don't want to do that. Secondly, manage the drop-off. That's what we're talking about as far as the tire wear is concerned. Don't go on there and keep wearing your right front tire out or the right rear. Save your tires. It'll last longer on the long run. And the main thing right now, you got to be able to stop the 48. What is it going to take? You just got to get to victory lane ahead of him. And whoever does that, they're going to be the hero if they can do it today, especially.
Well, we know the popular drivers, Dale Earnhardt Jr., can he be the hero? The good news is he's had a good weekend here. Not only is he on the pole, but he seems to be confidently approaching this track.
I think he's ready, and I think Darrell kind of nailed it when he said this guy is ready. Today could be his day. Starting up front is very important.
On the outside row, Kyle Busch with Junior on the pole. So let's head back down to the track to hear those words that race fans love to hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Merchandising Vice President of Lowe's Home Improvements, David Vaughn, as he delivers the most famous words in motorsports. Gentlemen, start your engine!
Just over 500 miles, 325 laps. The slogan is, here the fast go faster. Who will go fastest? This is Fox NASCAR Sunday live from Atlanta.
Welcome back to Fox's coverage of the Kobalt Tools 500. We're in Atlanta getting ready for some awesome racing. I want to thank the fans for a quick start to our sport. What an awesome few weeks of racing. Thank you for everything you've done to support us. I know I'm excited to get this race underway, but DW, I think we have a little challenge here for you in your little saying that you say at the start of the race. So, all right, ready, guys? 1, 2, 3.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
There you go, buddy. Let's have some fun today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Thanks, Jimmy, and hello, everybody. 4 straight championships. Already he's preparing for a career in television.
Yeah, they need a coach. I need to go down and coach him.
Hi, everybody. With Darrell Waltrip and Larry McReynolds, I'm Mike Joy. Trying to find a favorite for today's race. I like Greg Biffle, but he hit the wall in practice. I like Tony Stewart, but they've had to change an engine. Darrell, why is this place so tough, and why is it so hard to pick a favorite for today's race?
Well, the first thing is how fast it is. This disjoint is fast. The other thing is, folks, you got 2 little quarter-mile straightaways. You got a mile of turns here. Fast cars, you're in the corner, you watch these guys in car, they are working. They're working hard down in there. This place is physically demanding. It's also mentally demanding. It's a long afternoon out here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, Larry. It takes its toll on the driver.
Well, it takes its toll on the crew chief and those crews, because there's going to be a lot of 4-tire stops, not 2, 4 tires every time you come to pit road, and you have to stay on top of adjustments on this race car. But to me, coming into this race, the biggest story, the star of our show, the guy on the pole, the 88 team, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Can they put the beginning, the middle, and the end of this race together? Something that they struggle with a lot.
Why don't we ask him?
How about that?
Let's just ask him.
Darrell's going to dial him up while you folks have a look at the starting lineup for today's race. Let's talk to the pole sitter.
Dale Jr., it's DW. Got a copy, buddy?
Tempo.
The question up here is, the thing's been fast all weekend. You're on the pole. Can you keep it up front all day long?
Yeah, we got a good car. AMP NASCAR Chevrolet was actually better in practice than I thought it would be, and we didn't really have to work too difficult to get some gains, and we felt like by the end of practice we were pretty happy. So hopefully on the long run. You know, we didn't run anything over 14 laps yesterday, but hopefully we can get into the 25, 30 lap runs. The car's still there for us.
All right, buddy. Have a good day. Keep her up front. Be competitive and make a lot of people happy.
Yeah, 10-4.
As you look at the top 10, Carl Edwards is a previous winner here, one of 6 drivers in the top 10 to win. There are 2 more, Casey Kane and Jeff Gordon. Mark Martin's been to victory lane here, and so has Dale Jr. and Casey Kane. This race is brought to you by Budweiser, the beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, clean finish. Budweiser, it's what we do. Let's check downstairs as the field gets the 1 to go. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, last fall, Casey Kane scored the Kings' final win at a Dodge right here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Today, looking for the Kings' first win in a Ford in over 4 decades. Now, polling a number of crew chiefs in the garage area this morning, the one constant, their opinion that the 9 was the best car that ended final practice on Saturday. Kane looking for a big maximum bonus points type day to continue his climb back up into the title hunt. Chris Devoda?
Ryan Newman's team has been scrambling after deciding to change an engine this morning. Why the change? Well, his teammate Tony Stewart had a valve train issue. They changed motors yesterday. Both Stewart-Haas teams will be going to the rear. The 39, they examined it. Nothing was necessarily wrong yet. They just didn't want to take a chance. Steve Burns?
Well, Krista, as folks at home heard in the pre-race show, Carl Edwards loves this racetrack. He got his first win here in 2005, and the paint scheme today is a tribute to that first win for Carl Edwards. But at happy hour, they weren't happy at all. They just didn't have the handle on the race car. Carl says if we can get it close, I can do the rest, Dick Berggren.
Well, Greg Biffle qualified in unlucky 13th. In his happy hour, he hit the wall in the final moments. They brought the backup out. It only has 9 laps on it, and Biffle will start way in the back of the pack in that car. It will be up to the crew chief to get him to the crew to get him up front, because as Larry Mack just told you, a 2-tire stop is not in the cards.
Thanks, folks. Actually, the indication was for 2 laps to go, so we have time for our FedEx Understanding the Race. Larry?
Yeah, this is the trends or the pattern of the last 9 spring races here at Atlanta that crew chiefs will look at to try to call this race. First caution, average around lap 49, but in those 9 races, 3 times before lap 10, but twice well over 100 laps. The longest green flag run, around 91 laps. That's almost 2 full fuel runs. Fuel run here about 54 to 58 laps. The last caution period, a lot like Las Vegas, with about 30 to 35 laps to go, average lap 291, and cars finishing on the lead lap around 13 to 14 cars. It's so fast, and somebody hits that setup, it's hard to stay on the lead lap here.
There you see Biffle dropping to the back, along with Newman and Stewart. They leave pit road lined up in the positions in which they qualified, yet those 3 cars will go to the back. Today's race is 500 miles. It'll take 325 laps today to get it done.
And there you see pit road speed, one of Jeff Hammond's keys, 45 miles per hour. You're going from 180 to 45 on pit road to pit window for Sunoco race fuel, 52 to 56 laps. The car's going to the rear at the bottom.
The reason those guys wait till 1 to go the back is they want to get their pit road speed checked on their tachometer, so they have to stay in their position, then they'll fall to the back.
The last 6 races at Atlanta Motor Speedway have been won from one of the first 6 starting positions. Dale Jr., the pole sitter with the fastest timed lap ever turned with the NASCAR COT platform in qualifying. Kane starts 6th, and between them will be Kyle Busch, Juan Montoya, Mark Martin, and Jeff Gordon.
Mike, if you look at that top 6, I'm pretty sure the winner's going to come out of those 6.
Well, it'll be the 7th time in a row if it does.
Now, the track temperature is about 78 degrees, which is about what it was at the second practice, but we have a little bit of a cloud covering right now, give these cars a little more grip.
Race number 4 in the Sprint Cup Series for 2010. If that sun stays out, it's going to be a nice day in the grandstand and along pit road. They exit turn 4 and we're ready to race.
DW, she's the fastest on the circuit. She's fast and she's furious. Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
Thank you there, Mr. Crew Chief, and we're getting ready to go green here, and boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys!
believe Kyle Busch, that 18 car, is going to run her wide open through 3 and 4.
I tell you, he sailed her off in there. He wanted to lead that first lap, and that outside line has been really, really good for everybody all weekend long.
I guarantee you he never lifted over there in 3 and 4.
Started and finished second in yesterday's Camping World Truck Series race. Jeff Gordon trying to make some noise up on the high side. On the 24, here comes Elliott Sadler, Carl Edwards, and Kurt Busch. The 3 widest driver on that lap, you just saw him flash by, Jimmy Johnson in the lowest 48.
He's not wasting any time, Larry. When I said let's go racing, boys, he must have heard me.
Yeah, I mean, he started back in the 16th position, and he's been getting about 1 or 2 a lap just in these first couple of laps. And there he's going to get David Reagan in the 6th.
Johnson now 11th behind David Rudiman. Casey Kane takes 4th from Mark Martin.
I think that 9 car is on. It's going to be on a tear today. I really like the way it looked in practice. Casey loves this place. Won here last year. Could be a good day for him.
You know, looking at Jeff Gordon, the 24 car, we're riding with him here. What I noticed with him yesterday, he couldn't cut that fast lap in practice, but he seemed pretty good on the longer runs.
Carnwall turn 1, and it is Robbie Gordon. And what a star-crossed season he has had.
He had trouble off the 2 on the last time by here. He slowed way down and was followed to the back.
Right. That's a brand new race car they brought here this week.
Not anymore.
No.
It's a brand new wrecked race car now.
A long trail of tire marks.
Something definitely happened to that thing. You can see those black marks. Oh, he's sideways before he ever gets to the corner.
When the tire comes apart, that's what you saw down on the apron.
Yeah. He was slow off of turn 2, Mike, coming around this time.
Let's see if this shows the start of it. There's the number 7.
Yeah, you see, there goes the carcass off the tire right there. You start these tires with such low air pressure, particularly left sides. Sometime you can damage a tire if you get it too low too early.
Happened right in front of Michael McDowell, and the remaining 3 treads.
Look at those
left
black.
A real trail up into the safer barrier in turn 1.
Serious black marks.
Yep.
But you're right, Darrell. Goodyear NASCAR, they say they recommend don't go lower than about 18 to 20 pounds on the left sides. I guarantee you they're even going lower. The only one they mandate is that right front air pressure.
And that's when you have to be real careful. Let them build up a little bit. I don't know what happened to that one, but it came apart. Too low air, I think.
First caution of the day, and it comes at lap number 5 for Robbie Gordon. The pits are open and very few takers.
I think we'll see guys at the very far back. Here we see Joey Logano, McMurray, from everybody from about 25th, 28th on back, it looks like.
We had some fakers
and
we had some takers.
Ryan Newman, the 39 car, started at the rear, as well as Tony Stewart in the 14. They decided to hit pit road.
Bill Elliott in the Wood Brothers car, and Greg Biffle, Boris Said, and Regan Smith. Looks like Logano may get out quickest. He was very good in the final practice, actually both practices yesterday.
See our points leader Kevin Harvick in that Pennzoil car. He hit pit road as well. Greg Biffle in that backup car.
Working the first caution of the day in the Kobalt Tools 500.
The Kobalt Tools 500 is sponsored by Kobalt Tools. Kobalt, the next generation of top tools. By Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. By Toyota, moving forward. And by FedEx. We understand you need reliable shipping options. FedEx.
Six laps complete, 7 laps complete now as they cross the line. You're watching aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. DirecTV, it'll change your life. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
Mike, one of the ramifications for Gordon in a 7 car down there is he was 34th in points, just ahead of Scott Speed. And now Scott Speed, who's having a resurgence this year, he's going to be able to move into that top 35 here today.
You know, we got that first caution there on lap 4. If you go back to our FedEx understanding the race, remember I said 3 times in the last 9 races we've had a caution before lap 10, and we got one today.
It's funny how those things work, isn't it, Larry?
Biggest mover looked like Jimmy Johnson. You see him down at the bottom of the list because he gained 6 spots. There were bigger movers from the back of the pack, especially Travis Kvapil and Sam Hornish Jr. Michael McDowell, who just missed the Robbie Gordon incident. And there's a look at Travis.
You saw Tony Stewart there. He actually gave a lot of that back. He was one of the cars that elected to come to pit road under that caution.
It's good precautionary move. Changing the engine or anything about the car. You're in the back already. Come down, just give it a once over.
Getting ready for the restart, and these engines will go from mild to wild.
Now our leader Kyle Busch, based on the start of the race, elected to go to the outside on this restart.
Based on the initial start, that's a good move.
I'd say from what we saw, yeah, I think that's good.
These drivers will come to full throttle and we'll crank it up for them. Biggest movers on this restart: Jamie McMurray, Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart, Brian Vickers. Each came flying out of their respective packs.
But I think that just shows you right there, fresh tires versus tires that even had 4 laps on them.
But look at that 48. He's already up to 6th place, Matt.
And he came on the radio, DW, and told Chad Knaus, this car is good. The only issue that he has really centers around one of the vent tubes around his helmet. It's tugging in a certain way, causing a little bit of an issue, but really that race car on a rail right now, it's a rocket.
If it stays like this, I wouldn't even fix that. Just keep it tugging.
You can just see right up here, that's the air inlet for the cool box. Looks like it just doesn't have enough slack in it, and you can see his head kind of pulling back on his head right there. That's probably what's bothering him.
It'll help his posture, but other than that, no.
But guys, it's almost a replay of last week as we watched Casey Kane in that 9 reeling in Kyle Busch in that 18. Remember last week at Las Vegas, Jimmy Johnson started 20th.
At 3rd, Montoya passing pole sitter Earnhardt.
And you'll see the line Montoya runs right here. We knew it wouldn't be long, and he's already at the top. But Steve, already the question, how about the beginning of this race for the 88?
Well, Larry, what Dale Earnhardt Jr. reported under that first caution is that his car is a little bit tight.
And you know what? I think we're going to hear that quite a bit today, and I tell you why. These guys practiced yesterday with bright sunlight on this racetrack. Right now it's a little overcast, maybe not as hot as everybody thought it was going to be.
Now Jeff Gordon from 5th closing in on Earnhardt, while up front Casey Kane goes all the way to the top of the racetrack, trying to get that long run off the corner. Busch up to block, Kane to the inside. We're going to have a new leader.
No contest. You get that run, you keep the RPM wound up there, and it looks like you got 50 more horsepower than the guy you're passing.
I think that 9 car does have 50 more horsepower right there. He just dropped to the bottom there in 3 and 4. That car is working good everywhere. That's what I saw in practice with him. High, low, it didn't really matter. Pass him where you catch him.
New 4th place car is Jeff Gordon as Kyle Busch comes back, hunting the lead once again. But Kane's got that great run off the high side in turn 2 to hold Busch at bay.
Now, what you worry about, if you're all the other competitors, is how fast that 9 is. Because, man, here in about 30 laps, you're looking at the rear of the field.
Krista, how about the 2nd place car?
Well, Kyle's been pretty quiet on the radio. He actually thought the balance was pretty good. They knew not to come in because they knew they'd get hung out. But similar to what you guys were saying, Dave Rogers said they're going to start this race a little tighter than they normally would.
I mean, you want a little tug on the steering wheel here. You can't have it pushing because that'll really work that right front tire, but you can drive a little push out of it much easier than being loose.
Well, Larry, we talk about this racetrack and how it's laid out. The turns are so huge. If that back end is hanging out, you can't get back in the gas, and you can't make any time around the racetrack.
Brian Vickers continues toward the front. He started 26th, and he's now moved up to 14th.
But he was one of the ones that put those 4 fresh tires on that last caution.
And Marcus Ambrose has been making some noise since the restart. Now falls in line behind Carl Edwards. Ambrose in the 47.
Tell you a guy that at least is making a little noise here at the start of this race. We're riding with him right now. Denny Hamlin in that 11 car started in the 20th position. He's not one of the cars that pitted under that last caution. He has now cracked the top 10. Krista, looks like they're pretty good, at least with this overcast condition.
I'll say, Larry Mack, 3 laps ago, Denny Hamlin came on the radio and said, and I quote, "This car is pretty sexy right now."
Darrell, there's probably a lot of them that's pretty sexy right now. If that old sun pops out, that may change the complexity of some of these cars.
Yeah, bringing sexy back to NASCAR. I like that.
Montoya in that 42 car, we've been watching him work the high side. He drives by Kyle Busch, takes the second spot away. Kyle Busch right now looks like he's committed to hug that yellow line with that 18 car.
We talked to Clint Boyer in the pre-race. They've made a lot of changes. They were optimistic, but they're on pit road under green very early in this race, Steve.
Mike, the story for Clint Boyer, flat right rear tire for Clint Boyer.
And if you suspect you've got a flat at the speed you're running here, you better come right where he went.
All the way, all the way, all the way.
And that was to pit road.
Casey Kane, your leader over Montoya by 2 seconds. But what about Mark Martin, Matt? He started 4th. He's back in 30th.
He has faded big time, Mike. In fact, under the first caution, he told Alf Gustafson the car is tight, but not plowing, so that should be good for later when we start to lose grip. Now he says it is absolutely plowing. He's just holding on until they hit pit road to make some big time adjustments.
Yeah, interesting sponsor on Mark's car today. HenryCars.com. Go there. They're going to give away Mark's uniform after the race today if you go there and sign up.
Scott Speed just passed Martin, drops him back to 31st. And Greg Biffle, and remember Joey Logano has 4 fresh tires. He was the first car off pit road on that caution. Biffle trying to make the move on Sam Hornish.
Not today.
Not right there.
Not this lap.
And that brings Logano back in that picture as they catch up to Keselowski and Rudiman side by side.
That 77 car is snaking through the corner. I mean, it's just, it's like a military car. It goes left, goes right, goes all over the place.
About 2 laps ago, this happened.
Like I'm coming through.
Yeah, it's about, you're holding me up, bud.
I got to go.
And now they sandwich the 77 to make the pass. Casey Kane still 2.2 in front of Montoya, with Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, and pole sitter Dale Earnhardt Jr. the top 5. "27 laps complete in the Kobalt Tools 500 at Atlanta, and Casey Kane stepping it out in the Budweiser Ford, now 3.1 seconds in the lead. And that'll happen here at Atlanta. Somebody will catch the setup, walk the dog, and then they all come back together, it seems. Montoya second, 3 seconds back. Ford versus Chevrolet, 1-2. Started third, running second.
Really tight.
Kyle Busch in third, started on the outside pole in his Joe Gibbs Toyota. And fourth, the man who dominated last week in Las Vegas, leading all but the last handful of laps. Jeff Gordon is the first of 3 Hendrick cars in a row. Dale Earnhardt Jr. holding on to 5th. He started here from the pole. 9th pole of his career.
Mike, one of the things a lot of the guys were worried about was they never ran over about 15, 20 laps consecutive in practice. What was going to happen to these tires and the car, you know, when they get into a long run like this.
Jimmy Johnson 6th and being challenged by Denny Hamlin.
And this has to be pretty exciting, at least in the early going for this 11 car and Denny Hamlin, as he almost had it 3 wide over there off turn 2, because they have had such a dismal start to 2010. All winter long, people were saying, including myself, we felt like that could be the team that could challenge that 48 car for this championship.
Well, I've been coming here for quite a while, and ever since Joe Gibbs has been coming here, his cars, for whatever reason, the Gibbs cars have always had a really magical setup for this racetrack. You think back to Bobby Labonte, who's had, what, like 6 wins here through the years. This has been a really good Joe Gibbs racetrack.
David Reagan grew up racing here on the quarter mile, the Legends track. And how about this shot of Reagan, Darrell?
It's perfect, man. Look at that. You're right. I mean, that's like sitting on the dashboard watching him go around the racetrack. How hard, and we're talking about how hard you work and see the focus. I mean, even though you can't see his eyes, his head is cocked down there to the left just a little bit.
Reagan was one of the fastest in final practice yesterday. He is currently 8th.
But you saw it right there. We're almost 30-something laps into this run, still 192 miles an hour getting off in the corner. And he just hit the wall over there off 2.
Not
Kurt Busch behind him, last year's winner in the Penske car, the Blue Deuce. And Busch made a career out of hitting the wall here last year en route to victory.
Yeah, his right side was completely gone when he did his unwind lap before he went to victory lane.
It doesn't look like it hurt the car.
It doesn't hurt. These cars are pretty tough, as we've seen time and time again. But one of the things I think might have distracted him was that 2 car was coming. And you see. And he just gives a little look. Comes up the hill, he just gets to pushing and sliding.
It was almost like a push, hook loose.
Not sure that 2 car didn't distract him a little bit, knowing he was coming. Spotter may have said, watch for the 2.
That looked so much like his teammate Greg Biffle's crash in yesterday's practice, where he just ticked the safer barrier. It gave a little bit. The car got tossed out and then sucked back into the wall right after the end of the safer barrier.
What he's got to be careful of, Larry, is that he didn't do damage and cut a tire down here and back the thing in the fence. That's what he got to worry about.
He just did. He just did.
Exactly right.
Yep.
Got a right front down.
And that'll bring out the caution for the 2nd time today. Wow.
Kilt.
Yep.
Yeah, hit the wall hard, cut a right front.
Now, there was no smoke from that tire or any outward indication.
I think you'll see the thing just take off. There it goes. The right front blew out. Away she goes.
The worst place in the world, right in the middle of the corner.
It's only doing 170 miles an hour. Right in the middle of the corner.
So David Reagan doesn't get much of a home track homecoming here in Atlanta.
I tell you what, that was a big break for some guys like Martin Martin in that 5 car, Kevin Harvick, our points leader.
Got a right front down, coming to the garage.
Did you see that snap when the car hits the wall? You don't just, it doesn't just lay you against the seat, it snaps you up against that seat.
And he did take it straight to the garage area for Donnie Wingo and those guys to survey the damage.
It's the 2nd caution flag of the day. The freak pass will go to Max Pappas. He was the first of several cars who were 1 lap down.
And that was the problem Clint Boyer in that 33 car had to pit for an unscheduled stop to change a right rear flat, is Casey Kane kept putting more and more cars a lap down, and he couldn't get in position to get the free pass.
This is a perfect time to get a caution though. 35 laps. That's a good long run. You can really get some good feedback and make some really critical changes right here.
And take a look at that right front tire.
That too.
Pit road's open. Let's start with Matt.
Casey Kane had opened up, Mike, about a 5-second lead. He's got an opening behind his box. Jimmy Johnson is pitting in front, so he will stop short in his box to allow room for an early exit. He said the car near perfect. No changes on the 9, Dick.
Juan Pablo Montoya had been running in the second position. Car just a tad tight, so the wrench is in the back window, Christoph.
Kyle Busch said his race car is coming back to him, a 4-tire change. Steve.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. Krista says his car starts off tight, but now it's over-rotating off the corners. Lance McGrew told him to adjust his brake bias. They'll also make an air pressure adjustment on the 88.
Man, that's a land rush off pit road there.
All right, if you see it right there, you don't see the 48. Darrell and I were looking straight at it. He was blocked in by Travis Quapple, had to back up. And you'll see it right here. You can see that's Travis Quapple.
Come on, go. Out to the grass,
Let's show you Jimmy Johnson's view of that pit stop.
Nice and clean right here, no problem.
And coming in will be David Gilliland, Travis Quapple's teammate, 38. Just hanging out of the box just a little.
It looks like a lot of room, but Darrell, you and I were looking at it. It was not enough.
Out to the grass.
Had Jimmy not been over quite as far in his pit box, he might have could have gotten out, but he was just in a position where he couldn't.
David Reagan having a look at the tire that came off the right, I'll call it a tire, off the right front of his car, the rest of which is built Ford Tough. Atlanta, one of 5 tracks in NASCAR to host over 100 Cup races. 29 wins for Fords at Atlanta. And what a memorable weekend Carl Edwards had here in 2005, getting the nationwide win in his first Cup win in the same weekend, built Ford Tough.
Mike, the big thing, the telltale sign on the 6 car's tire, I know the tire was a mess, but so was the wheel. Had a bunch of concrete where he had pounded that wall over there.
Getting ready for the restart. Casey Kane elects the outside, and we are good to go. Green flag at lap 39.
I got a feeling that Juan Pablo Montoya is going to be working on our current leader, or our former leader. Oh, 2 cars in the wall in turn 2.
That's Joey Logano, the 20 that's up there.
And Carl Edwards.
And the caution is out.
Now there's a lot of, looks like damage on the left front corner of Logano's car and the right front of Edwards.
99's got a lot of damage.
Sorry, man. I don't know what he was saying. I'm sorry.
That's Carl Edwards.
I had room. I went down, and then he hit us from behind.
Let's see if we can watch this again and see who did what here.
Logano on the outside, Edwards in the middle.
Ooh, Carl got clipped by Brad Keselowski. Just run him up the hill, couldn't save it, and got into Joey Logano in the 20 car.
Another look. Watch that red number 12 on the bottom right there, getting it.
This car right here just clipped Carl Edwards in the 99, Brad Keselowski in the 12 down on the bottom there, and it shot him up the hill.
Just remember, Joey Logano came in here 8th in the points.
Awful close down there, Darrell. To know if there was actually contact or just what. Let's look at that first look and look at the 99 and 12 once again.
I wouldn't think there was contact if the car hadn't wiggled the way it did, moved and took off.
There are the 3 cars involved.
Pretty tight right here, pretty tight right here. Just a nudge. It's got a nudge.
And it doesn't take much.
Not when you've just been in the, coming out of the pits, low air, car hard to hold on to.
Carl Edwards right front is a mess. Joey Logano came in here with what could have been a top 5 car. And they're both damaged. We're under caution in Atlanta.
The Kobalt Tools 500 Odd Fox is sponsored by Budweiser, the beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, clean finish. Budweiser, it's what we do.
Atlanta Motor Speedway opened in 1960. You saw Fred Lorenzen there take the green flag in a Ford. It looks like Paul Goldsmith in a Plymouth. It was a mile and a half then as now, but then the front stretch was the back stretch. They turned the track around. Big infield crowd there in 64. Carl Edwards, who had a great weekend here in 05, not so much with this retro paint scheme. And have a look right there on Brad Keselowski's car, right below the headlight decal. Just that little evidence of contact.
A little nudge. That's all it was.
Clint Boyer got the free pass. First car 1 lap down. He has since pitted. End of the line, and we're ready to go once again with Kasey Kahne outside. Kyle Busch. Green flag.
Tell you one thing, that 18. That 18 can get out of there when they
yes, he can.
These restarts.
Yes, he can. He gets going in a hurry.
Now, is he the leader?
Yes, he was first car off pit road. Kyle Busch was the leader. He elected the inside on this restart with Kahne outside.
Yeah, I just want to make sure because you can't beat the leader to the line.
Kahne now battling Earnhardt for second. And Junior falls in line just in front of Montoya.
I believe these early quick cautions may have helped Junior a little bit. Looks like his car is a little wee bit better.
But you see Montoya in that 42 up high gets that run off the top side on 2. He'll just drive by the 88 car.
I just think that 42 is probably the best car right now. He was chasing down Kahne before the last caution.
And here comes last year's winner Kurt Busch side by side with Jeff Gordon right behind that front 4. Back of then it's Denny Hamlin, Marcus Ambrose, Tony Stewart, Brian Vickers.
Got a little 3 wide here. Elliott Sadler was the meat and the sandwich between McMurray and his teammate Allmendinger in the 43. Bottled him up actually back there.
Kenseth in the 17. Keselowski trying to come back toward the front, and Bobby Labonte in the 71 with Jeff Burton sneaking around the outside in the 31. And here comes Menard. A lot of folks think that 98 is going to have a good day today based on his practice.
He was
speed.
nice and solid.
Yep.
And he's been nice and solid all year long, actually.
Dick Berggren is with Carl Edwards.
And Carl Edwards is very anxious to see a replay of the incident. His car is pretty well damaged. We're going to let you talk us through it, Carl.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I just got to say thank you so much to Scotts and Aflac. I saw Brad down there, and I thought he'd give me room, so I went down to run the bottom. I thought he just hit me in the rear, but it looks like he was just there by about an inch. So, I mean, that's his call early in the race to either give me just a little bit of room or keep his nose in there. And I guess he was racing hard. I really thought it was his fault, but that replay doesn't look like it was as malicious as I thought. But thank you to Aflac and Scotts, and we'll get back out there. But Brad never gives me any room at all. But I was trying to take a little bit there. Just real frustrated.
No question about the disappointment in that young man's face.
Joey Logano was able to make repairs and continue. Edwards in the garage.
Well, when I listened to Carl Edwards' interview, and of course Darrell talked to him in the pre-race, there's no question after winning 9 races in 2008, the frustration continues through 09 into 2010.
And what makes it worse, Larry, for him here, this is his favorite track. He's got 3 wins here, got his first win here. He loves this place. He's looking forward to a great day, not to be.
Well, I think he was being awfully gracious in that interview.
Yeah, he looks at that a couple more times. He'll change his mind.
Matt?
And Mike, as soon as the green flag waved in that last restart, Earl Barban was trying to get Jimmy Johnson back to the high side. The car loose before that last pit stop off turn 2. Really the only hindrance he had over that last run. He said the car very good down in 3 and 4.
Thanks, Matt. Now, I said Logano was able to make repairs and continue. He's now on pit road with a good bit of damage, and they're going to go under the hood of his car as second place changes hands. Logano's teammate Kyle Busch giving way to Montoya.
And where Montoya was beating him so bad was off the corner. You see getting into turn 3, Kyle Busch maintains and actually picks up ground, but right there, Montoya running that high side, stays in the throttle and just pulls away from that 18 car.
But what I liked about the 18 car, Kyle Busch, he didn't fight it. He let him go, which is smart. I mean, Montoya's quicker than you are. Let him go. We get him. Maybe you can get him later.
When Montoya first came to NASCAR from IndyCar and Formula One, many observers wondered how he would transfer and whether these big ovals and these big heavy cars would present a big challenge. But the first time he ran here at Atlanta, he had a top 5 performance, and all those questions stopped.
And he was performing in the same groove he's running here right now, right against that wall, all 500 miles.
Thinking back to many years ago when I was a rookie, the tracks that you went to the first time and you ran well, you always ran well there. It seemed like your driving style, whatever, fit particular racetracks better than others.
Riding with Martin Truex Jr. in the 56 car right now. He's 12th. He's battling Ryan Newman. You see him right back there in that 39 car. It just looked like in those 2 practice sessions yesterday, the first and the second one, that long run wise, this 56 car was pretty good.
And look who's coming right behind him, Greg Biffle, who started way in the back after crash damage in practice. Biffle's coming back toward the front.
But just remember, that was his wingman at the back, the 39 car, Ryan Newman, who was back there for an engine change. So both those guys looking out there just into the top 10.
Biffle said what few laps he got to practice that car yesterday, it was actually a better car than the one that they were going to race.
But what was pretty amazing, they took the time to take a lot of parts and pieces, suspension-wise, off that car they wrecked and put onto that backup car.
2 weeks, Thunder Valley, Tennessee, Bristol Motor Speedway. One of the first signs of spring. The campers are arriving in Bristol. Some of them are already parked there, and the race isn't for another 2 weeks.
And I just think they've made a little change, might bring the bump and run back a little bit.
It's like racing in a blender. Except nobody will blend in.
Jeff Gordon in 5th place, Matt.
And having a very solid run here at a place that's had a lot of success in the past. Gordon said the car was a little free over that previous run, but it was really working for him down in turns 1 and 2. But it wasn't really working for him down in 3 and 4. But this is what Steve Letarte calls a racetrack where it's going to be a day of adjustments. You've just got to keep adjusting, keeping up with this racetrack as it changes throughout the day. The sun in, the sun out.
I think sun in, sun out, and I think just the more rubber that gets on this racetrack makes such a huge difference.
And that's wedge in and wedge out, wedge in and wedge out. Air up, air down.
And hopefully the right adjustment on that final stop.
Gordon and Dale Jr., 4th and 5th. But the leader is Casey Kane. He has been out front 3 times for 33 laps in the Kobalt Tools 500.
You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Sprint brings you an inside look at what's happening now inside the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Biggest mover in this race, up 35 spots. That's Tony Stewart, who started in the back with an engine change. And Kyle Busch has the fastest lap of the race so far. For more NASCAR stats, NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile at sprint.com/speed. Casey Kane, your leader. A couple of changes in the top 5. Jeff Gordon moves up. Montoya holds 2nd. Kyle Busch back to 5th. Jeff Gordon moves up. Kurt Busch into the top 5.
18
in
cars
the deuce and coming.
Yeah, the 18 cars backpedaling just a little bit, Mark. I don't know, or Mike. I think it's something happened to his car there.
Steve?
Mike, you guys were talking about changing weather conditions. Kurt Busch just says this car is temperamental. It's hard to hit the right groove. I have to load the right rear tire too early.
And that's something that obviously Steve Addington and that group, they're going to have to start attacking, because we're getting to the part of the race, even though it's early, where you almost anticipate, well, maybe we'll get into those long runs that I talked about in the FedEx Understanding the Race. There's Steve Addington, crew chief for Kyle Busch for a couple of years. Now he's moved over to Kyle's brothers, Kurt Busch, for 2010.
Coming up on 100 miles as you watch the battle for 3rd. Kurt Busch moving underneath Jeff Gordon to take 3rd away. In the garage, Robbie Gordon and David Reagan.
Nice work.
With crash damage. Michael McDowell has parked the 55. Dave Blaney the 66. Joe Nemechek the 87. Carl Edwards also in the garage with crash damage.
A little bit too tight when I want to pick up the throttle in the middle, a little loose off.
And I think fix first things first. Fix that. Look, fix that little bit of push, a little tight in the center first, and that may calm the looseness down.
Right. You got the wheels cranked left for the push, and all of a sudden the front will bite and the back will snap out just a tad. Free her up just a little bit, and you'll be good.
I believe one of the fastest cars on the long run, though, is that car on the left we're seeing right there, Denny Hamlin at 11. We saw it in that last long run that we had. We're seeing it again in this one.
And on the right, Jamie Mack trying to take 14th from Ryan Newman, and A.J. Allmendinger right in the middle of that battle in the 43.
Yeah, that orange and that green car, they've been hooked together for a good part of the race. Allmendinger in the bottom in the 43 and McMurray, our Daytona 500 winner, in the 1 car. They've been right there almost like this since the drop of the green flag.
A couple of sportsmen there.
And Allmendinger makes the pass. The ex-kart champ car, open wheel star.
Had a great run in the Daytona 500, but the last 2 races kind of fell off the map a little bit. So this is a good run, at least early here for him.
I'll tell you what, that car was good getting into turn 1 there. Man, he made up a lot of ground on the 39 car Newman there. Really, watch this. So he gets in the corner really hard, down on the bottom.
And that kind of arrests Newman's forward progress at about 14th position.
And I'm
right back in rhythm here, lap 70.
When you got a car that'll still work down there, you know, we talk about the multiple grooves. You see 3 different grooves right there with Allmendinger and McMurray and Newman. When your car will work down there and it will stick and you can move forward, it's a pretty good race car.
Little battle up front here.
Kyle Busch is 7th. Christie's about to get a mirror full of Tony Stewart here.
Yeah, you know, they've just lost a little bit of the handling, Mike, on their race car. They were a little free before that stop. They made a wedge adjustment. And, you know, right now the track is sunnier. It's sunnier down here than it's been all day. So they're just trying to keep up with the changes.
And I think they're going to be faced with this all day long, sun in, sun out, just like they were talking a while ago.
Stewart started in the back due to an engine change. He's up to 7th.
Yeah, what they did yesterday when they went to check the valve lash on that 14 cars, we got a little battle here between Kurt Busch and the 2 who used Boris Said as a pick. That's a battle for 4th. Denny's going to go right to the bottom. But when they checked the valve lash on that 14 car, they saw it had opened up. They decided to change the engine, but immediately they went over there and started checking the engine on that teammate, Ryan Newman, the 39, decided to change it.
Side by side for 3rd, 2nd place Montoya just ahead of them. Dick, how about Montoya?
Well, Mike, before the last round of pit stops, the crew was telling Montoya what a good car he had, telling him his lap times were faster than anybody else. Then on the pit stop, they adjusted the car. He doesn't have as much forward grip as he had before, and he is watching Casey Kane disappear through his windshield. So what does the crew tell him? You're faster than anybody behind you. And they're telling him the interval between he and the cars that are back there to try to keep their driver enthusiastic and pumped up about his situation.
Yeah, I mean, he just lost 2 spots there. You saw the 11 car, Denny Hamlin, drive by.
Real clean. There was a bit of terror.
This is the guy, though, going. Denny Hamlin's going forward. His teammate, Kyle Busch, in that 18's going backwards. He continues to lose spots.
Jimmy Johnson battling for 9th, and here comes DeBiff.
That 18 car, though, I've noticed that a lot of races. Really good for a little bit for a short period of time, but hadn't been all that great over a long haul. Here comes Biffle, right in his favorite groove.
Took him 75 laps to get to the top 10 from the back.
That groove, that's such a fast groove. You pick up a lot of straightaway speed, but man, if you ever slip, you'll be in big trouble.
Paul Menard in the 98 with Bobby Labonte, a 6-time winner here. And they're fighting for a spot inside the top 20.
But I think we're really starting to see some comers and goers. This is a longer green run than we had the last time, and we're starting to see a lot of guys really lose a handle on these race cars. And now we're starting to see who really is strong on the long run, like that 11 car and like Casey Kane, our leader.
I like that car right there. It's strong on all the run.
What do you think of for pit stops, Larry? 10 more laps or so?
I would say about 15.
Okay, we'll be back.
The Kobalt Tools 500 is sponsored by AT&T, a better 3G experience. By Nationwide Insurance. Call or visit us online for a quote today. And by Kobalt Tools. Kobalt, the next generation of tough tools.
Caution is out for the 4th time today for debris in turn number 2, likely from when Clint Boyer, trying to keep from going a lap down to the number 9 of Casey Kane, got up and into the wall and then gave Kane an anxious moment that took away some of his 5-second lead. The caution flag took away the rest. So we are under caution. Boyer gets the free pass. Pit road is open. And Matt.
The Bud guy's up on the wall waiting for Casey Kane. Kenny Francis told Casey, stop short in your box once again, because the 48 of Johnson will probably stop short in his. Slight air pressure change on the right front. The car just a little tight early in the run. Nick?
Juan Pablo Montoya had slid back to the 4th position. They are adjusting the chassis to try to give him better forward bite. No one in front of him. He's got an easy out, Krista.
The 11 good on the long runs. They're putting air back in the right front. Steve?
Kurt Busch says he's good, not great. I'm tight getting in, loose off. They've dropped the air pressure of both front tires for Kurt Busch.
And it's Busch that leads them off pit road. Now, where was his brother Kyle? While we were away, Kyle had made a pit stop under green and came back out. So likely he'll take the wave around.
Look at our leader, Casey Kane. That 9 car lost 6 spots on that pit stop. It just, things are just congested in the area where he's pitting and Jimmy Johnson in that 48.
Too many good cars right there together.
Let's get downstairs to Chris Myers and Jeff Hammond for an AT&T race break.
Thanks, Mike. Casey Kane won at Atlanta over the Labor Day weekend. He has dominated here, Jeff, in the last win for a Petty Ford all the way back in 1969 at Martinsville. As we recap the start of this race today, on the pole was Dale Earnhardt Jr., but has not led a single lap in this race. That's Kyle Busch, who led 22 laps early. Robbie Gordon, not off to a good start.
Loses the left rear tire right there about the 4th lap of the race. You see the carcass coming off, spins the 7 car up in the outside wall. His day's pretty much done.
And then David Reagan, a Georgia native, tires playing in. He had scraped the wall a little earlier, another tire issue.
Yeah, it blows the right front, sends the number 6 car from the outside safer barrier. He's in the garage also.
Brad Keselowski gets into Carl Edwards, and Carl was polite about it, but it caused this mix-up with Joey Logano, and out of the race for the moment for Carl Edwards, who's had great success here. But we have had, as we just saw moments ago, more tire problems. Is that more related with a new tire here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, or is it the way guys are running their cars early?
It's a combination of all the above. Yes, the new tire here has got a little more grip, and the guys, I think, have had problems with their air pressure, maybe getting it too low, trying to get more grip here at this particular racetrack, because the racetracks wore out, Chris, and we're seeing those issues because of that, as well as sometimes the guys making contact. These tires are not that durable. You get into the sidewall, you can damage them, and then all of a sudden you see what the problems come up from it.
All right, we've heard our guys talking about running high, running low. Obviously, your car dictates some of that, but is there a better one to go if everything's equal?
Here at Atlanta, I'd like to get my car to be able to work up on the top side. It's a little easier, I think, on the tires, especially the right side tires. And the day we keep harping on it is keep the drop off as far as wearing the tires out and abusing them too much to where all of a sudden you start slowing down. We've seen guys start off in a 30-second bracket. In a matter of 10 or 15 laps, they're running 32-second laps. That's the drop off I'm talking about.
And the weather, it hit 60 here, but not as sunny and not as warm as I think they thought it would be. So you hear guys complaining about fixing a tight condition. How is that figuring into this?
Well, you just got to keep working with it. You got to work with air pressure. You got to work with the wedge as well as the track bar. And again, if you can get your car, I think, to run around the top of the racetrack. And we've seen some guys that I think have been kind of surprised to me. Tony Stewart, he's running the top of the racetrack while Casey Kane's running the bottom of the racetrack, just the opposite of where I thought you'd find these guys.
Be sure to cast your vote all season long for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award. The standings from last week. Your AT&T phone is where you can text the car number for the crew you think is the best in each race. Text it to 2258. Delivered by AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network.
And Chris, while we're talking about pit crews, I don't think that the 9 guys are going to be very happy because they had a pretty slow stop.
Kane losing 6 spots. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Well, let's show it to you. Here's Casey coming in. He makes the stop right on the mark. Look in front of him, though. Jimmy Johnson starts way back of his box to keep from getting blocked in.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about. This is where there's so much congestion, and this is what happens when you have a good car, but you're pitting in front of the leader. But you can just see it was just a little bit of trouble across the board, right side, left side, the whole stop on that 9 car. Now let's take a look and compare it to Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch came in running 3rd, goes out leading the race. Kasey Kahne comes in leading the race, goes out 7th. Our gold standard time is based off of a 48 stop that we got these numbers. You can see just across the board, it was just off. Right side getting around with the jack, and the left side, it's just a little bit all the way across the board. The difference for Kasey Kahne losing 6 spots on that pit stop.
Getting ready to restart with 83 of 325 laps complete. Why don't you crank it up and we'll let them go for the green flag. Tony Stewart and Dale Jr. have a run. Jr. threads the needle, comes down right in front of the 11 of Denny Hamlin, and moves alongside Stewart for 2nd place.
That was a nice pass right there. Set the 11 up, got in there. Nice pass.
Steve?
Mike, on the last run, Dale Earnhardt Jr. said the car started out tight, but the longer he went, the better it got. It did get a little loose late in the last run, but he likes his race car.
And here comes Montoya on the bottom against Stewart.
And, you know, we're talking about Dale Jr. One of the things that we wanted him to do today, or one of the things we hoped he could do today, was be up front, be competitive, and not fall back through the field. So far, so good.
I tell you what, you keep him where he can see that leader, he'll stay after that leader.
Problem's going to be seeing the leader. Kurt Busch up to half a straightaway lead on this group. Earnhardt, Montoya, Stewart, and then it'll be Jeff Gordon in 5th. Matt?
And Mike, when you talk about tire management, a lot of crew chiefs are saying the wear that you're getting more here at Atlanta is similar to Darlington, and you're not only working on your tires, but you're working on the right front or the right rear as far as how much to abuse it. For Jeff Gordon, he was a little too tight that last run. Steve Letarte said we're going to have to shift the balance a little more toward the free side because there was some considerable wear on the inside shoulder down to the cords on that right front.
But Darrell, you know, back in the day, you would come here, go to Darlington, you would just kind of play things easy in the beginning. These guys now, they're running qualifying laps every time the green flag's put out.
But it's always been too, Larry, that the longer we race, the more into the race we get, the better tire wear the wear in the tires will improve, and so I think we'll see that today. But one of the concerns, and you mentioned this, is camber. It's how much the tire is leaned in, and you can wear the inside of these tires out if you have too much camber. Car will turn, it'll make it turn. It's hard on that right front tire.
Paul Menard, Ryan Newman, 17th place. They have had close company all day. And at the front, what happened? Kasey Kahne moving ahead of Tony Stewart and Denny Hamlin, busting through to try to chase down Kurt Busch.
But even him passing cars, his lap time there was comparable to Kurt Busch that's out there totally by himself right now.
So it was just the pit stop that got Kahne back in the midst of things. Now he's trying to break out, but he's got to get past 3 more cars to have a chance to run down the leader.
And one thing you got to really watch if you run that high line and get up there real close to that wall, as these tires wear, we'll see more and more buildup up next to the wall. That's what gets you in trouble. You get up there, get that on those hot tires, and the car will not turn.
I tell you what I like about that 42 car right now. We've watched him run most of this race at the top, but it looks like at least on fresh tires, he's not bashful about turning that thing to the bottom.
You know, Larry, I heard him tell somebody, I'm trying to learn to run the bottom.
All right, let's get back racing last time here.
And I know what has helped him learn to run the bottom. I think he's got a lot more horsepower under that hood than he's had in the past.
It's just not in his DNA to do that. He likes the top groove. He feels good up there. It feels fast. He likes to go fast.
Jeff Gordon in that 24 car, he drives by his teammate. He'll take the third spot away from Junior.
Kurt Busch, who led 234 laps here last spring, is out front by 1.8 seconds in the Kobalt Tools 500.
So any changes?
Just a little bit faster this time. That's it. Chad, you're good. Stay out of there.
I didn't know that toolbox could hold that car, but they were shooting a Kobalt commercial, and interesting stuff. Jimmy and Chad.
Scared me.
Not as interesting as this. Right now, Jimmy's 8th behind Kurt Busch, Juan Montoya, Jeff Gordon, Casey Kane, and Dale Earnhardt. Some new players in the top 10. Matt Kenseth up to 7th. Tony Stewart 9th. A.J. Allmendinger. Well, he was 10th a second ago. Greg Biffle takes it back.
They've been going back and forth for about the last 5 to 10 laps with these two cars.
Behind them, Rudimann's 12th. Jeff Burton, Martin Truex, Brian Vickers, the top 15. Then Menard McMurray and Mark Martin.
Tell you what, I'm watching the interval between the two car of Busch and Juan Montoya back here, Jeff Gordon, and they are closing down on Kurt Busch at about a tenth to a tenth and a half a lap. Kurt Busch going to have some company here before too long.
I do believe the best car, though, right now is Jeff Gordon, that 24 car back in third, just looking at our lap counter.
Now, the way that Casey Kane got back in the pack, he's now running 4th. But the way he got back there was on that pit stop. Let's get out of Jeff Hammond for today's nationwide pit zone.
And Mike, you see the 9 car on your right, comes into the pit stall, looks like he's in there like he'd like to be, got the nose turned out just a little bit, but right in front of him you see the 48. He comes in, the right rear of his car is kind of sticking out toward pit road, and when he starts to take off, he can't really hammer it like he wants to. He's got to take it easy. All of a sudden there's his teammate Jeff Gordon getting, or not teammate, but here's Jeff Gordon, the teammate of Jimmy Johnson, also blocks him out. All of this combined cost him 6 positions off of pit road. You've got to get a clear shot if you want to have a really fast pit stop.
But Jeff, I think that supports what we were talking about. You've got 3 of the top cars, even though there's an opening there. You've got Gordon, Kane, and Johnson all pitting right in the same area, and they just stack up with each other.
And you pick your pit in the order in which you qualify. The pole sitter picks first.
Chad's usually really good about picking a pit that he can get in and out of.
But he's not used to picking 16th position. That's what I think hurt him this week, a little bit like last week.
3 wide here. You see the left side of Brad Keselowski's car looks fine. Right side, not so much. He's been in the wall with it.
And these guys, they're about a half a lap behind our leader right now, Kurt Busch. You'll see all the damage on that 12 car, and our points leader, Kevin Harvick, we've been following him. Pretty much knew, Matt, talking to that group this morning, that they didn't have a race car they felt very good about.
And it really started back on lap 12, Larry Mack, when Kevin told Gil Martin, guys, it is going to be a very long day. The car is just super tight, and that's what they've been balancing with for the rest of the race so far. And then he said the rear of the car is like on ice, and it's just tight on entry. So the balance issue is all over the map for Kevin Harvick, and it shows on the stopwatch and in the rundown.
It does, but they have definitely improved that car. He's up to 24 spots. He's been riding back there at about 34 spots, so they have made it better. Keep working on it. They'll get it there.
But you know the amazing thing, of course, we've talked about Richard Childress Racing all year long. And right now, you've got Harvick in 23rd. You've got Clint Boyer in 29th. Jeff Burton seems to be carrying the banner for Richard Childress right now, sitting in 13th. The first 3 races this year, they've not even had a single car finish outside the top 11. So little little bit of work to do today.
Well, Larry,
way to go.
Doesn't this mirror practice? Jeff Burton was the best of those 3 Childress cars in practice. And in fact, wasn't it Boyer who said that they mirrored Jeff Burton's setup, trying to at least get up to that same level of performance?
Yeah, yesterday in practice, the 33 just finally quit practice. They had thrown everything they could throw at it, and they just decided to stop. Let's put the 31 setup under.
And while we're talking about Childress, let's don't forget Judy is in the hospital. Want to let her know we're thinking of her, praying for her and Richard, and Linda Petty.
Yes.
Also.
Yep. Richard Childress's wife, Judy. Mike Dillon is usually Boyer's spotter, and his daughter Tina is Richard and Judy's daughter. So Mike's going back to North Carolina.
Right, and Clint's dad is spotting for him, who normally spots for him in practice anyhow. Mike Dillon comes in and spots for the race.
You know what that all tells me, though? One big family.
That's right.
It's a family affair.
Racing is. You said somebody catch Kurt Busch, and that somebody is J.P. Montoya.
Looks like that Atlanta rubber band.
It stretches out. Here it comes all back together again.
Rubber band man.
You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
The Kobalt Tools 500 is sponsored by AMP Energy. Go to ampupthe88.com this Wednesday, March 10th to chat live with 88 Team Car Chief David Bryant. By new Pennzoil Ultra with hyper cleansing technology. And by Lipitor.
112 laps complete as you watch our aerial coverage, brought to you by DirecTV. DirecTV, it'll change your life. Call 1-800-DirecTV. 6th place car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. on pit road.
Yeah, you may have a loose wheel, Steve.
Yeah, about 5 laps ago, Dale Jr. said, I'm not getting off the corner. I may have a loose wheel. So they are, in fact, bringing him in here on lap 112. They're going to put 2 rounds in the left rear, 4 tires. And again, he does feel like he has a loose wheel.
Well, he'll be like Superman when he gets back out there on those fresh tires, but we're about 15 to 20 laps away from what would be green flag pit stops.
One thing I noticed with the 2-car, Larry, the 42 of Montoya caught up to the back of Kurt Busch. Looked like Kurt said, hey, I got a better car than that, and he has picked it up, and now he's beating Montoya about a 10th of a lap.
And when Junior gets up to speed, he'll be 2/3 of a lap behind the race leaders. A lap and 2/3 behind the race leader.
So what he certainly hopes is we at least cycle through those green flag pit stops over the next 15 to 20 laps.
4th place, Denny Hamlin, Jeff Gordon, back and forth.
They've been going at each other here for quite a while now. It looks like Hamlin might have.
We got Mark Martin. He just spun here on the front straightaway. Caution is out.
Left rear tire on Mark Martin coming off turn 4.
Oh yeah, you can see it hanging out to the left side over there.
He was.
One coming here.
He was in 17th place. Now Dale Jr. will not be the first car 1 lap down. That will be Bobby Labonte who gets the free pass. There's the 5.
What a great save.
He was running in the 17th position.
Larry, I think we're seeing something here that we've talked about, the stagger in these rear tires, the load it's putting on the left rear, axles, hubs. I think we're seeing something going on here. It's like a common denominator.
Yeah, this is about the second one we've seen Robbie Gordon right at the start of the race.
And even though Mark Martin spins that car down the inside, keeps it off the wall, so they'll be able to fix it and get going again.
Mike, I do believe what Lance McGrew and Dale Earnhardt Jr. will do. I think they'll maybe do the wave around right here since they just hit pit road for 4 fresh tires.
And that will put him at the tail end of the lead lap when we go back to green.
The left side tires that Goodyear has developed for this year are the reason we're seeing these cars so fast. It's a new, I don't know how new, but it's a different design than what we had last year, and it's certainly making the cars fast. Got a lot of grip in it.
They're looking at the wheel that came off Dale Jr.'s car that he thought was loose. The lug bolt holes do not look elongated, which would be the telltale of that, however. And pit road is open. Kurt Busch leads them down, Matt.
And John Royer and Jim Carbon, the tire changes for Casey Kane, getting ready to jump off the wall. They're going to back up the air pressure change they made on the last stop. Made Casey too tight during that run. Dick.
Montoya's spotter, Tab Boyd, has helped him enormously this afternoon, finding the fast line on the racetrack. He's looking for more forward bite, Krista.
Denny Hamlin was tight, but the car got looser in and off. They're tightening up just a bit with a quarter round, Steve.
Kurt Busch says his car is good, but he's gotten just a little loose on exit. Small adjustment, air out of the right rear tire for Kurt Busch.
Busch again wins the race off pit road.
All right, our leader right now will be David Gilliland. One of two things. He wanted 5 points for leading, or Chad Knaus went and said, you think you might wait to the next lap to pit?
Since they are pitted right in front of that 48. I'd say you're right on both counts, Larry. We're under caution for Mark Martin.
We got more show. We got more excitement. We got more Lottie.
What Variety Show is hosted by a two-time Daytona 500 winner and has competition so wild it could only happen trackside? It's Fast Track to Fame. Every week, Barry Van Wee, who won last week, what a tremendous fiddler he was, and you'll have to see who the winner is from Atlanta when you tune in on Speed. Check your local listings.
I believe that fiddle that guy was playing was built by one of these fabricators down here in the garage. That thing was wild, man.
All I know is Barry played a mean fiddle.
They're going to have to go some to top him. Can't wait to tune in and see who next is voted on the Fast Track to Fame. Right now, Kurt Busch is on the fast track. He's out in front of this field over Juan Montoya. Denny Hamlin, Casey Kane, and Jimmy Johnson are the first 5 for this restart. And Kenseth, Gordon, Biffle, Rudeman, and Stewart. Dale Earnhardt Jr. indeed, Larry, took the waiver. He's going to take the waiver round here, looks like.
So that will put him back on the lead lap. This is something that NASCAR started last year, that if you stay out where the pace car picks the leader up, as long as you don't make a pit stop, you're waved around the pace car and you go all the way to the back of the pack.
Right, with 1 lap to go, the pace car waves everybody around and then picks up the leader, who in this case is Kurt Busch, and we're ready to go racing with the leader in front of the field.
That's what I was going to say. I like that. It cleans up the front of the field. You don't have somebody up there. The leader starting mid-pack.
Montoya has the high line and has the lead.
42 car is pretty fast. Don't know if he's as fast as that 2 or not.
And now he doesn't.
All I know is that 2 car handled pretty good down that back straightaway that time. But I'm telling you, he just motored past that 42.
Oh, that looks like bad news for the field right there.
It looks like a replay of last year, actually. He spanked them here last year.
Yeah, led 234 of 325 laps.
4th place battle. Kane in the red number 9, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, and Matt Kenseth, who I was surprised not to find Kenseth's name on the list of the drivers who have won in the Cup Series at Atlanta.
But I'm not surprised to see him up here in the top 10. Talked to Todd Parrott, his crew chief, this morning. He said, Larry, we can't cut a fast lap. But he said the longer this race goes, I think the better we're going to be.
Well, he's a wise man.
It's showing up.
It's showing up right here.
Tell you another guy that has made his way back up there into the top 10. He had fallen off the car right behind this group right here, David Rudeman, in that 00 car. He was up there. It's like almost like they got off during one of their pit stops, but now he's back in the top 10.
Well, Rudeman will sit around. Larry tickles me to death. He'll sit around and run the top 10, 12. At the end of the day, he gets him a top 5.
Sure. Right behind him, Greg Biffle in the 16. From the back of the pack after hitting the wall in practice, and A.J. Allmendinger in that oddly green colored number 43 has been right with the top 10 all day.
We talked about Jeff Burton, that 31 car. Worst finish of Richard Childress Racing, his 2 11th place finishes, and that's exactly where he's running in that 31 car, 11th right now.
And the Dinger is another who has hung the bottom all day.
Been there all day.
Yep.
Really gets in the corner really, really well.
Now earlier, Dale Earnhardt Jr. pitted under green because he thought he might have a loose wheel. Steve, what was it?
And Mike, they've been going over those tires. In fact, the Goodyear tire you see that's going on a stack right now, the tire specialist, Keith Weiss, wrote Goodyear, check dismount, 88. Goodyear engineers just came over to check it. The tires look like they're fully inflated, Mike.
And Mike, one of the things that happens to these tires, they got an interliner inside of there, inside the outside tire. If you get that air pressure too low, that interliner will set in there and shake just a little bit. And I'm seeing a lot of cars that look like they got awfully low air pressure. I think that's where some of this vibration's coming from.
Yeah, you have to keep that interliner about 12 to 15 pounds minimum over air pressure than the outer tire.
Little audio from our pole sitter, Dale Earnhardt Jr. here.
I can't count on my one hand how many loose wheels I've had in Atlanta, and it's just weird. It happens here all the time. It's like this track and how rough it is, worn out it is, you know, how soft the tire is. So just kind of works some loose more often than other tracks. I don't know. Lot of load here.
Well, Darryl, you talked about it. It's a 1.5 mile racetrack with a mile of corners. You better believe it's loaded a lot here.
You put more pressure on tires here than you probably do anywhere because of the speed you run, how hard you have to jerk on the wheel all the time, and then how fast you are through the corners.
Speaking of fast through the corners, speak about that 24. Jeff Gordon right around Matt Kenseth, 5th place, 6th place now.
The thing about Atlanta is you got the front wheels trying to turn the cars. You got the rear wheels with 850 horsepower trying to push you straight. It's a pretty big battle that goes on in that race car all day long.
And then you got teams that bend the rear end to get the rear tires maybe pointing in a little different direction to overcome whatever else might be going on.
They're pushing the envelope on a lot of things.
These cars are all pretty yawed out, particularly on a track like this.
See Denny Hamlin right there in that 11 car chasing down Montoya. Denny, how much faster he was in the middle of the corner versus that 42 car.
But here's some good news. Talking to John Darby, when they go to the spoiler, he thinks they may be able to get rid, that the teams will want to get rid of that yaw because the rear spoiler will tighten the car up and you won't have to do it with the rear end housing.
Which very well may happen here in a couple of races when we go to Martinsville the week after Bristol.
Now, yaw is a term that comes from aeronautics. If a pilot's trying to fly the plane straight, but the back end is out to the right a little bit or out to the left because of air or whatever, or adjustments, the plane is in yaw. It's not flying exactly straight. Pitch is up and down, yaw is left and right. Here's your Toyota top performers, led by Denny Hamlin in 2nd. Marcus Ambrose was good in practice. 13th right now.
Little battle here between teammates. 48's caught the 24. Not surprising, the 48 is hugging the bottom. Pretty much that's his usual G2 on a track like this.
Yeah, I don't know that I ever saw the 48 up at the top even in those practice sessions yesterday, but he'll take that 6th position away from his teammate Jeff Gordon in the 24.
Kurt Busch, your leader by 1 second over Denny Hamlin, Juan Montoya, Casey Kane, and Matt Kenseth.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
There's Atlanta's original NASCAR track, Lakewood Speedway. Well, we had a lake, we had some woods, we built a 1 mile dirt track, and there are the modifieds getting ready to run in the 1950s. A lot of great races there before moving over here to Atlanta Motor Speedway, which opened in 1960. 190 laps to go in the Kobalt Tools 500 with Kurt Busch leading. Let's go downstairs for today's DirecTV head-to-head knockout pit whip.
Let's start out with Greg Biffle, whose great advantage is not engines under the hood or a good chassis. It is the pit crew. At California, the first 2 stops, they gained him 12 spots. In the last 2 stops here, they gained him 8. But maybe the best advantage they've got is that Mike Wright, one of the crew members a couple of weeks ago, found a horseshoe. And they have got it taped to the pit box, Steve.
Well, Dick, earlier we heard Matt Yoakum talking about these guys trying to manage their tires and how this track has picked up a resemblance to Darlington. Tony Stewart in the 14 car just told his crew, I've lost my forward bite. That's what I'm struggling with. He said we have to get the back of the car back into the racetrack. Krista?
Marcus Ambrose has gone from saying his car was good to great to no grip to way too loose. Lance Nack's on board. Doesn't have Lance in his pants, but he's hoping to have lead in his foot. He started 12th. He's running 13th. Matt?
If you're a Kevin Harvick fan, things are starting to look on the positive side. Harvick's still running back in the 21st position, but he says we're not there yet, but we are making big headway. We are getting much closer. And the last stop, Gil Martin did a wedge and track bar adjustment. The car is still free on exit, but not as free as it was before when it was like black ice.
Thanks, folks. To learn more about the head-to-head knockout, visit directtv.com/NASCAR. We're getting ready to build our brackets. We'll give you a little hint, and that is that the first 4 finishers in last year's Sprint Cup will be the #1 seeds in each of the 4 corners of the bracket. So we're going to get ours together, get ready to make yours, and somebody could win $1 million.
It's time for a little bracket racing here, you know, with the NCAA tournament going on. Brackets there, brackets and racing.
But the thing about it, this is not fantasy racing. This is real drivers with real money on the line.
Just $1 million. Oh, shucks.
Matt Kenseth has fought his way into the top 5.
He's chasing down Casey Kane in that 9. Ever since Casey had that problem on pit road, he's kind of been marred back there about 4th to 6th.
Sometimes you pull the 17 good through the bottom of 3 and 4. Sometimes he's a little better than you.
A little bit of spotter information for Casey Kane. See Matt Kenseth all the way to the bottom there. Casey Kane right up against the wall through 1 and 2.
Keeping my next car to knock the wall down list, and at the top is Greg Biffle, and right behind him is Brian Vickers. Both of those drivers are right up on it. In fact, Biffle got right up into it in practice. Jeff Gordon has slid out of the top 10, Matt. He's in 12th.
He's faded to the back a little bit more there because they've lost the balance of this race car. This is recent conversation between the 4-time champ and Steve Letarte.
We're in big trouble here, real loose. I'm just going to take care of our stuff and just pray it comes back to us and these other guys fall off.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's going to come back until they get to pit road and make some adjustments and get 4 fresh tires on that car. And we're still a good 25 laps away, 25 to 28 laps away from what will be green flag pit stops.
But see, Jeff Gordon's another one of those guys that the car could be terrible. It doesn't look terrible.
No.
Because he's just going to drive it right up there to where he feels comfortable, but no more.
Now, the track temp has changed since the start of the race. 1 degree.
Yeah, it's pretty overcast right now, so that changes things dramatically.
But I think a big thing also is the amount of rubber that's starting to get down on this racetrack as we're getting closer to halfway.
Yeah, when the cars run all over the place, some high, some low, I mean, there isn't any groove. Like when you practice here, the high groove is really good because there's not a lot of rubber up there and a lot of grip. That goes away as the race wears on.
Denny Hamlin had gotten within 0.3 of a second of Kurt Busch, and now you see Busch starting to stretch it out again.
Saw that earlier.
Yeah, I saw that earlier, and you know, so I forget who it was caught up to him, and or Montoya caught up to him. He just kind of pulled off and left him. So he's driving a pretty smart race right now.
This is a battle for 8th between Tony Stewart and Greg Biffle. Tony keeps working his way up there. Of course, we got the report a while ago that he needs the back of the car back in the racetrack, has no forward bite under acceleration off the corner. But our old buddy Allmendinger, this is one of those days where you can say he's kind of a humdinger. He keeps moving into that top 10.
He has really had a strong race.
It's the color of the car. What do you call that? Avocado?
That's as close as I can get.
I like avocado.
I like that. Pea green doesn't sound.
No, I don't like that.
Avocado.
Here's Denny Hamlin. We just talked about him. Made that run up there to Kurt Busch. This is a battle for the lead. I just believe Denny Hamlin, that 11, Mike Ford, what they'd love to see is a really long run based on what we've seen for most of the race with this car.
Now, Kurt stretched it out a bit. Did Denny Hamlin cool off his tires and then say, okay, we'll make another run, or what do you think?
No, I think Kurt's car looks like it's got a little pushy loose. That time off turn 4, it was sideways a couple of times.
Yeah, he didn't get off turn 4 at all that time. Denny Hamlin made up the ground down the straightaway, going to try to take the lead away through turn 1 and 2.
I think he's got it. Ooh, he's almost had it.
Kurt kept it wound up on the high side off turn 2. Let's see what happens. We've got that lap car of Kevin Conway in that 37 up there.
Hopefully the 2 car was all that great around the bottom. I think he's a little better up high.
I think he's going to, Denny Hamlin's almost going to get pinned behind that 37 car.
Didn't take away much of his momentum, Larry. Now he gets to go hang the bottom again.
Got to clear him this time. He's got a nice run right here on the bottom.
What you love about this Atlanta Motor Speedway, this is what always promotes those great finishes.
You know who loves this most? Montoya, because he's coming.
He is reeling them in.
There's that red dot. All that side-by-side racing has allowed Montoya to close back on the leaders to within about 0.6 of a second.
Did you see that move that Montoya made off of 4 that time? He was high, and he just dove to the bottom. Picked up a lot of speed. Krista.
Well, at the start of this run, Mike Ford, crew chief for Denny Hamlin, reminded his driver to take care of your tires. They've been adjusting air pressure, and you're exactly right upstairs. The long runs, that's what suits this team. Steve?
Krista, it was a very short message from Kurt Busch to Steve Addington. Loose off.
Kenseth and Kane, both in Fords, continuing to battle for 4th place.
But just back to Denny Hamlin, you know, you just think about their first 3 races. His best finish was 17th in the Daytona 500, this 11 car.
So Denny Hamlin puts his Toyota out in front of Kurt Busch by 0.6 of a second. Montoya, Kane, and Kenseth. 176 to go in the Kobalt Tools 500.
You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is delivered by UPS, the only delivery company trusted trackside by NASCAR.
Here's your UPS race summary. Denny Hamlin, the leader, one of 7 leaders, 11 changes, 28 cars, 27 now, still on the lead lap as Jeff Gordon makes his 2nd pit stop under green in this sequence. Race summary brought to you by UPS, the only delivery company trusted trackside by NASCAR. While we were gone, Gordon made a pit stop. So did Dale Earnhardt Jr. Both talking about tire troubles. Matt?
Mike, on the previous stop, Jeff Gordon's right front tire looked pretty good, but he called in, felt he had a tire going down, and when they took the tire off the right front, about a 1-inch ribbon around the inside shoulder completely gone, and it was cut on the inside of the shoulder as well. So right front issues for Gordon.
And actually, that was not a second pit stop he had to make. He was too fast entering. Remember, one of Jeff Hammond's keys, speed on the racetrack, not pit road, so he had to do a drive-through.
39 came down pit road, too.
So Gordon was serving the penalty for being too fast in the first segment of pit road. Jeff Gordon was 12th when he made his pit stop. Dale Earnhardt Jr. had fallen to 32nd. Now Ryan Newman also stopped. Krista? Oh, Joey Logano
just cut a right front down.
Now remember, that car was heavily damaged earlier in the crash with Carl Edwards and Brad Keselowski.
We don't want to kill a damn car because the tires. We'll come get tires this time, bud.
So Logano brings out the 6th caution of the day. He'll have a lot more damage on that right front when he gets to pit road.
The camber issue is something that I'm really shocked, because these guys have gotten so good at knowing the limit, but they're just stepped over it today. Some serious damage.
Yeah, it has destroyed that hood, the fender, the nose.
Digger.
Joey had the problem earlier when Carl Edwards got sent up to him and sent him into the wall in turn 1 and 2.
Regan Smith will get the free pass. Logano was already 10 laps down as the pace car picks up Denny Hamlin. 167 laps to go.
And we anticipate that more than likely Ryan Newman, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr. may very well take advantage of the wave around here, just like Dale Earnhardt Jr. did the last time the caution failed.
Junior's getting to pit road about 5 or 6 laps too soon. That's twice now he's had to pit, and right afterwards had a caution.
The difference on this one is he's 2 laps down, so the wave around will bring him back to just 1 lap down in the case of Dale Jr.
That tire was absolutely destroyed. So she'll be feeding time on pit road for all the other lead lap cars.
This time it's Denny Hamlin who leads them on to pit road at lap 158. Here's Matt.
Kane in 4th. They're going to push a spring rubber in the right rear. He couldn't run the bottom like he wanted to the last run because the car was too free, Dick.
All day long. His problem is that as a run goes on, he loses forward grip. They're going to try to fix that. Krista.
Denny Hamlin said this run, the start is better, not getting off of the corner as good as he wants, but better. Steve?
Kurt Busch says, I'm loose off. You got to tighten me up. I need help with the left rear. They're going to reverse an air pressure adjustment, put a little wedge in the left rear of that 2 car.
Hamlin and Busch off pit road, but Killer Bees pick up a spot for Matt Kenseth.
48 car loses 2 spots, as well as Casey Kane losing 1 spot.
I think they're adjusting on that 48 car. It's what's slowing them down a little bit.
So as they clean up from Logano losing that tire, let's go downstairs to Chris for an AT&T race break.
Thanks, Mike. The 10th Atlanta Sprint Cup race for Denny Hamlin. His best finished 3rd and currently the leader. Remember, after he complained a little bit about the Toyota engines compared to Chevy. More on that in a moment. Dale Earnhardt Jr., your pole sitter, who chronicled his problems with the loose wheel, has never led as high as 6th when he went out for problems. Here, Brad Keselowski bumps into Carl Edwards, and then Joey Logano is affected, so Carl Edwards out of the race. Here are some of those problems for Dale Earnhardt Jr. as they examine the tire. We've counted at least 7 different drivers who've had some tire issues in the race. Mark Martin, one of those.
Yeah, including him. You see here, left rear tire comes loose in him. He spins out and around away he goes.
And Jeff, our most recent caution, Joey Logano here, 6th caution.
One of the guys that got in the wall earlier with the right side. You see he had damage to the right front, blew that right front tire, and basically totaled out the right side of the car.
When you talk about conserving your tires, how do you do that? Try to go out and win a race.
Again, you have to pace yourself. You've got to feel what the car is doing, and you feel like you're leaning on the tire a little too much. You need to maybe change your line, your entry, or the way you attack it. And sometimes that's very difficult to do. Very rough racetrack, but we're seeing a lot, I think, attrition because of that, including this 88 car. They felt some things, and they haven't found them, but they've been able to get on pit road. But each time they stop, somebody else has problems, and they wind up going down more laps.
Larry McReynolds pointed out earlier, there's more rubber being laid down on the track. We know about the abrasive surface. So how does that change maybe the position of where drivers can go?
Well, you have to just kind of search around. We always talk about, you see guys like Tony Stewart who normally runs the bottom of the racetrack. Now he's running the top of the racetrack. It's just depending on what your car is asking for. Beautiful thing about Atlanta, you can pick and choose for low, middle, or the top. And also at the top of the racetrack, Chris, I've seen a lot of what we call the marbles. As they start to clean up around the racetrack, they're going to try to get some of that. There's a vacuuming truck around that top groove trying to get some of that rubber off that top groove so they can go back or closer to the wall.
You don't want to lose your marbles. I know that's something you worry about.
Working with you has that problem.
Real quick, though, Denny Hamlin said it was in his USA Today diary about, I think Toyota is behind on their motors. Of course, the head of Toyota Racing Development didn't agree because he was talking about Chevys. They won all 3 races. They've been dominating. I know we got a long way to go in this race. Do you see Toyota, the thing's a little bit different than what Denny was talking about here?
Denny looks to me like his car is working really well through the corners, and that makes him look like he's got better horsepower. Good handling race car here today is one that's going to get you to victory lane. You may have better horsepower than somebody else, but if your car's not handling and keeping the tires up underneath it, you will not win this race.
Good competition up front, so it's not been all Chevy. Kurt Busch and his Dodge has led the most laps at 65. And text your opinion on who you think should win the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award. Points are awarded for the fastest pit times. Jeff will select the winner. And it is delivered by AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. So we've got 7 leaders, 13 lead changes under our 6th caution. We'll get ready to go green here in Atlanta in just a moment. The Kobalt Tools 500 is sponsored by Ford F-Series, America's best-selling brand of trucks for 33 years straight. Built Ford tough. By McDonald's. I'm loving it. and by AT&T, a better 3G experience.
You feel like overall that run was better? Yeah, 10-4, the start was better. It's just I lose the ability to really arc in. That, and I'm not getting off as good. But I'm getting, that was better than the first, the two previous runs. 10-4, let's get a quarter round down right.
When he says when he's losing the ability to arc in, what he's talking about is making this big late swing into the corner. What he's having to do is go straight in, and that's the difference of arcing in and just driving it straight in the corner. And if your car's not tight enough, you can't arc it in.
Hamlin, the leader. Taking the wave around were Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, Ryan Newman, and Joe Nemechek.
He's elected to start this race, restart this race on the bottom, and let Kurt Busch and that too have the outside line.
Well, Hamlin, he just said he can't arc in, so he doesn't need that outside line.
Hamlin's last three finishes at Atlanta, 3rd, 13th, and 6th. Here we go.
A good gauge of horsepower. If everything's equal, nobody spins the tires, they all take off about the same time as restarts. The guy with the most horsepower will be able to pull out.
And I'm going to tell you what, that he did through turn 1 and 2, even with Kurt Busch getting a good run off turn 2. Let's see what happens when they go down into turn 3.
Restarts are like a drag race, Larry. I mean, you drop the green flag and you drag, you know, and who's got the best power usually prevails.
Front 6 cars all hang the bottom. First one up high is Jimmy Johnson, battling Jeff Gordon down into the corner. Excuse me, that's Rudeman. He's alongside down in the corner. And now here comes Matt Kenseth against Montoya. This is for 3rd.
Yeah, I think he's going to take Matt a little bit. He usually seems like he runs, takes him about 10 laps to really get going strong.
But Montoya, he's been running that second groove ever since they did the restart, and he'll get by Kenseth to move into 3rd.
This is the only track where Montoya has had more than one top 5 finish. He has 2 here. Let's go downstairs for a fantasy racing update from Steve.
Mike, I'm afraid to report my Fox Sports Auto Racing Challenge team has turned into a bit of a nightmare. It's a lot of fun. You pick 5 drivers while staying under a salary cap. And what I try to do, Mike, I like to pick value guys. You know, Jimmy Johnson would have been the obvious, but I went with Paul Menard, Carl Edwards, Mark Martin, Casey Kane, and Jeff Burton. And right now, Casey Kane is my top driver. He is 5th overall, but it's a lot of fun. You go to foxsports.com. It's the Auto Racing Challenge.
We do need to mention what happened to Jeff Burton is they elected to make a second pit stop under that caution. Now David
Right rear. I think it, no. I think it's the right rear. I don't think it's engine. I saw a little smoke there, but I believe he's got a right rear now.
And he was running in the 7th position.
He dropped down to the apron in turn 3.
No,
Here's something in the bottom.
That's not it's not a tire. I thought that right rear looked soft, but that's coming out the tailpipes. Not good.
Just one flat.
Down a cylinder. We'll have a look at it.
It's a valve. That looks like it dropped a valve, maybe.
Hamlin under a charge for the lead from Kurt Busch and Montoya.
I'm going to tell you what, our top 5 is right there together because look at Montoya all over the rear bumper of that 2 car.
Tighten it up at the front of the field. Everybody's getting their car better and better and better.
Here comes Kenseth on the bottom.
And there's Casey Kane in that 9 car. He's been working for 100 laps trying to overcome that problem on pit road. And there he is. Looks to the inside of Kenseth down the back straightaway.
Kenseth got pushing up off of 2. He had to burp it a little bit. And here come the 9 car.
Well, Denny Hamlin could not stretch out a lead here. He's got lots of company. Dick?
Montoya has just heard from his crew, save the splitter. That's how intense it is up front, Mike.
Ooh, save that right rear quarter panel, too. Woo. I got the splitter, boys. Don't worry about that. Not right rear. That's a whole different story.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. One reason they're getting concerned is 5 of our top 10 just ran the fastest lap of the race. Look at Montoya. Just slams in there in the second.
That's his perfect groove. He goes in a little high and then he dives to the bottom.
Little encouragement to take the lead, get those 5 points. There's Casey Kane in the 9, led this race so much in the beginning. He wants to get up there and take that second spot away.
Watch this line Montoya has down here. He may not even have to use it. Looks like Hamlin's going to let him by. He goes in really high, and then he just comes to the bottom. He kind of cuts down to the middle of the racetrack and picks up a lot of speed coming down the hill. See that gap?
For the first time today.
Nice shot. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Right rear.
Juan Montoya is your leader for the first time today. He's the 9th different leader of the race.
You're wearing him out. Say the splitter. Okay, now say the right rear. Save me some fuel.
I would say with him, it's right rear tire and right rear quarter pound.
I'd be telling that crew chief, give me a break, man.
There's Casey Kane in that 9. Moves to the high side of Denny Hamlin. Takes that second spot away, but here comes Hamlin fighting back on the bottom. That's what makes this place so great. We're past halfway, and look at these guys going after it.
But it's, you know, you say it's like a rubber band. It's more like a yo-yo. You know, you go down, you work on it, you go back up. It's just backing and forth. Who's got it right at the end?
Front 4 drivers all within 1 second of one another. Let's have another look at that move Montoya made, because I think not only did he get sideways as he passed Kurt Busch, I think Busch got sideways too.
Watch this up here. He really set that up getting into 3. Went in there a little high, but when he cut it to the middle, he came by those guys.
I think he definitely caught Kurt Busch off guard. Kurt yanked it to the left. Like, where did he come from? Here's Kane in that 9 car. Wants the lead back. Let's see what happens if he dives it off into 3 here.
That's the best car, Larry. The 9, just, you know, overall so far through the race, run after run, that 9's been the best.
With the wave around, our pole sitter Dale Earnhardt Jr. now just 1 lap down, as is Jeff Gordon and Ryan Newman. Here's Steve.
Mike, team owner Rick Hendrick has made his way down into the pits. I got to tell you, it's still a bit of a mystery down here. Tire specialist Keith Weiss said it might be a rear hub. I can tell you what it's not. It is not related to the rear axle problem they had in Fontana. Keith Weiss also saying they're looking at serial numbers, but these guys were standing here, Mike, with their palms up in the air. They're mystified.
But Steve, although Dale said on the radio it felt like a loose wheel, you've seen no evidence of that?
The tires are fully inflated, Mike, and that's what Keith Weiss is mystified about. He said they're fully inflated. We don't know what the problem is.
And that's a head scratcher. And I mean, it's very concerning anywhere, but especially the speed you're running at this place.
I've had brakes. I've had a rotor be warped. Put your foot on the brake and it'll shake the whole car. Not saying that could be the problem, but I wouldn't count that out.
Let's get an update on his teammate Jimmy Johnson in 6th, Matt.
Jimmy's impressed so far with the progress they've made, Mike, on the 48 car. Loose on entry. It said it just needs a turn a little better in the center. But right now they feel pretty good where they are, making progress. Like we talked before, it's all about adjustments through the course of the race. About 148 to go.
Now on the left, you see Chad Knaus, crew chief for Jimmy Johnson, Kenny Francis, crew chief for Casey Kane, talking to each other. Remember, we've documented the whole race. Those guys are pitting right beside each other, and they've kind of been on top of each other all day long in the pit.
Well, I think that's a conversation where, look, I'll let you know when I'm coming, and you let me know when you're coming, so we don't come in together.
And of course, Matt, the problem is the 9 car's pitting behind the 48, and with him leading the race, he gets to his pit box first.
And Larry Mack, I was up in the 9 hall this morning talking to Kenny Francis when a crew member walked in and said, "Did you see who picked right in front of us?" And Kenny said, "Yeah, that's going to be an issue all day. We're going to have to make sure that we work together, but also stop shorter in our box so that we don't have an issue."
Well, the good news is Casey Kane in the 9, Kenny Francis, they have a small opening behind them. And then out in front of Jimmy Johnson, which was a problem earlier, David Gilliland in that 38 car, he is actually down a lap or so now, so that kind of helps the situation. I'm wrong on that. Gilliland is still on the lead lap based on a little bit what happened a little bit earlier.
Remember, the last caution flag stop, Gilliland waited a couple laps to come in so those two could get their business done and get back out. Kane is the leader, Juan Pablo Montoya in 2nd.
The gloves are off. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Starting April 10th, America's Pastime returns to Fox. Yankees, Rays, the Cardinals. You see them all the best players, the best teams, the best matchups every week. Fox Saturday Baseball, April 10th, special time, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, 139 laps to go. Casey Kane, the leader, from Denny Hamlin, now second. Juan Montoya, Kurt Busch, and Jimmy Johnson. Well, let's have a look back at the 7th, 8th, 9th place battle. There is Brad Keselowski, whose right side is a mess, and yet he's been able to move up to 7th place, Dick, ahead of his teammate Sam Hornish.
Yeah, and he started in the 28th spot, Mike. The setup underneath that car is very similar to the setup under his teammate Kurt Busch's car. In fact, Keselowski was probably with Kurt Busch more this weekend than he was with his own crew, Steve.
Well, Dick, Sam Hornish has been battling a loose race car, but he just said my car's handling well. Might just be a tick off on horsepower, but she's driving well right now.
And with that group, as he's been all day, there's Matt Kenseth slipped back to 9th. A.J. Allmendinger battling Greg Biffle, continuing for the 10th spot.
Chartreuse. That is a green. It's called chartreuse.
That's a yellowish green. There's a liqueur by the same name and the same color. It's an acquired taste,
I guess.
Matt?
Well, Mike, we figured out the color of chartreuse. Now they're trying to figure out the wiggly loose thing that A.J. Allmendinger is describing with the 43 car. Says it's wiggly loose. Once again, the last stop, they made an air pressure change in the right rear to try to help that, but they're still working on that condition.
That rhymes, and he doesn't even know it. Wiggly loose in the chartreuse.
Paul Menard continues to have a very strong day, running at 12th, just ahead of Martin Truex, and Tony Stewart's on pit road.
Yeah, just kind of dove down there all at once.
Riding with Martin Truex as Stewart comes down to the attention of his crew and Steve Burns.
Mike, just heard Tony Stewart say, I think there's a problem with one of the left tires. I saw his crew members all jump up on the wall at the same time, which obviously is a sign that there was a problem. Tony thinks it's a left side tire. He's going to get forward, no adjustments.
Stewart was the 6th place car when he elected to pit under green.
Oh, you know, they did an extensive tire test here. 4 good cars, and look, Carl is going to make his way back out onto the racetrack.
It's good shakedown here, bud. Then let's come to pit road, look at it, Jason.
Yeah, Carl was involved in that 3rd caution back on lap 39.
You know, people at home might say, why would they fix that car and come back out this late in the race? Because that's what you teach your team. You don't ever quit. As long as the race is going on, we get it fixed, you get back out.
Well, go back to last year. Kyle Busch missed the chase. I mean, by single-digit number of points, all but. So every point is so valuable in these first 26 races.
Edwards could pick up at least 3 or 4 spots if no one else falls out of the race if he completes the final 133 laps of this race. All right, back to Steve on the Tony Stewart stop.
And Mike, Tony said he thought he had a problem. You can see right there, one of the Goodyear tire engineers has just come in. Tony's telling his team right now, I'll take some of the responsibility for that, but you can see what that tire looks like off Tony Stewart's car.
I don't want to make a premature judgment here, but it looks like the Hendrick and Hendrick-related cars are having their issues here today. You know, we saw Jeff Gordon, the 24 car, with a right front wore out on the inside. So right now, I'm seeing just a little bit of a pattern. You know, Mark Martin has had a problem. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has had a problem. Seeing a little bit of a pattern.
Yeah, well, if everybody's teammates and everybody shares information, sometimes that information isn't good.
And remember, Ryan Newman hit pit road earlier for a tire issue. So right now, maybe I don't need to push the envelope too hard. The guy we were just riding with, Jimmy Johnson in 48, the only Hendrick or Hendrick-related car that's not been to pit road with a tire problem.
And I've been watching that 48 car, Larry, and it's just so methodical. Top 10 for a while, rode along there. All of a sudden, he's top 5. I look at his lap times. They're getting to be more and more in line with what the fast cars are, just slowly but surely.
Carl Edwards made 2 laps, came to pit road for adjustments. They'll send him back out to run as many laps as he can.
Look everything over while you're under there.
Jimmy Johnson may have a vibration. Matt?
And Mike, he said he might have a possible vibration on that 48 machine. Really hasn't said much since that.
We just had talked about him, that he's the only Hendrick or Hendrick-related car that has not been to pit road for an unscheduled stop. Chad Canal say don't like what I'm saying up here. He's going to tell me to keep my mouth shut.
Casey Kane the leader by 1.7 seconds over Denny Hamlin.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Kobalt Tools. Kobalt, the next generation of tough tools.
November 1992, right here in Atlanta, pivotal day in NASCAR history. Jeff Gordon's first Cup race, Richard Petty's final Cup race, and Alan Kulwicki clinches his championship, the last by an owner-driver in NASCAR. And on pit road, Jimmy Johnson. Matt?
Jimmy's in a big crank on the track bar adjustment. He said the vibration had gotten much worse on that 48. Chad called in the pit road. He's away.
And we're about 10 or 12 laps away from what would be green flag pit stops, but this is where we've gotten a couple of times, and then someone would have a tire problem or someone would spin out with a tire issue, and we never quite got to the green flag stops.
Well, if you're one off, you know, you hadn't heard about any tire problems all day, you might not panic. But when you see all the trouble that people are having and your driver starts saying he might have a vibration, you got to come now.
Well, when one goes, they all go, and Mark Martin is reported a vibration.
A couple of these guys just hit pit road with some tire problem.
The 88 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr., another Hendrick car.
The one thing I've noticed about the 88, I haven't had a good sight at. Look how yawed out that car is coming down pit road. That puts a ton of pressure on that right rear tire.
So with the right side hanging out in the breeze when the car is trying to go straight.
And you're in the turn here so long with the car yawed out like that. I think that they're maybe creating some of these issues themselves.
Third place battle. Kurt Busch coming back toward the front. What a day for the Penske cars.
Jeff Gordon's way off the pace. Like he may have a problem. Well, he does have a problem. I don't know if it's a tire or not.
He's had one earlier. I'd be willing to bet it very well probably is.
Already 2 laps down. Looks like Gordon's going to work his way around to pit road, and here is Brad Keselowski, who is pitting out of 6th place.
I think this might be the beginning of a regular stop, Dick.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski, who's having a terrific day here. Believe it or not, this is the first time he has ever run a sprint car at this particular racetrack, a Sprint Cup race at this track, and he is just flying today, cutting through the traffic, doing a nice job, cruising a nice job in the pit stop.
And Jeff Gordon makes it to pit road. Matt?
He came on the radio and told Steve Letarte, I need a new right front. I feel like it is gone, and definitely you can see as it comes off, loads of brake dust, but also right around the inside shoulder, like the previous 3 stops, issues on that right front for the 24. Meanwhile, his teammate on the 48, they were still looking over their wheels because they didn't find anything amiss with the tires at this juncture.
Now, if we cycle through green flag stops, these guys that pitted early, like Jimmy Johnson, they're out there running about 1.5 seconds faster per lap than like our leader Casey Kane, but it has to cycle through for it to work out.
Boy, and then here's a, who's this? Is that Gordon coming back down there?
Or is that Mark Martin? That's
That's the 5 car, sorry.
Meanwhile, Sam Hornish has climbed up into the top 5. He's 4th, Montoya's 5th. What a run for Hornish, who started out the weekend with a spin in qualifying.
Yeah, we watched him, you know, we talked about his car and how bad it was handling. They have fixed that baby.
Well, we talked about the tough day for the Hendrick team. Chris and Jeff have been monitoring some of the other multi-car teams in today's race.
And Mike, the Penske team, Kurt Busch has led 65 laps. You were just talking about Sam Hornish Jr. Keselowski, we saw pit moment ago, is in the hunt as well. As a team, Jeff Hammond, Penske's been up, down. They appear to be up again today.
Yeah, they're up today. Last week at Las Vegas, they were definitely down. Chris, I had an opportunity to spend some time with Brad Keselowski, totally dejected, felt like that they totally missed the package. Coming in here, they qualified kind of poorly. Right now you're looking at Kurt Busch in the 2 car. He was the best of the Penske cars in qualifying. He wound up qualifying 11th. We see right now our Daytona 500 winner, Jimmy McMurray, on pit road. A lot of scheduled green flag stops as we're going through this whole deal. There's Elliott Sadler. But today, they've turned this qualifying deal around. Ryan Newman getting 4 tires on pit road. You also see Kevin Harvick, our points leader, coming off the pit road. But so much for Penske today, coming in here, all 3 cars being competitive, working their way from the back of the field to the front to be contenders.
All right, real quick, obviously Kevin Harvick, we knew that he had a rough weekend coming in, but Richard Childress Racing, they've not been in the hunt, but Jeff Burton has just moved into the top 10.
Yeah, he's definitely moved into the top 10. Some of it has to do a lot with the pit stops going on. And speaking of pit stops, let's go down to Steve Burns.
Well, Jeff, you see Sam Hornish in the 77. He says his car is free on entry, really good through the center, just a little free off. Now, Kurt Busch says that his car has felt like it's a little whacked out. He said whatever we did to the left rear was wrong. Air in the front tires for the 2 car, Dick.
On pit road, his crew has been absolutely solid all day. They haven't gained any spots, but that's only because Montoya has run toward the front all day.
Allmendinger and Ambrose complete stops. Mike Bliss is in. Here comes Biffle and Menard.
I mean, surprise, surprise. Who won this race last year? The 2 car, and all 3 of those cars are all running well, so I don't think it's any big surprise.
Dick.
And Greg Biffle is on pit road. This crew has been incredible all day long. They have gained spots for their pit stops. Krista.
Paul Menard has been cranking off quick stops despite the fact that their rear tire changer sliced his hand this morning. He has 7 stitches. Paul Menard has a great race car.
Brian Vickers is in. He's been running right at the top 10. Bobby Labonte. Matt Kenseth is in. Matt Yoakum.
And Matt was telling Todd Parrott, his crew chief, basically the car was tight for the first 20 laps, and then it swung back to the free side. Air pressure change on the 17. Meanwhile, the leader, Casey Kane, brings his Ford almost a collision with the 34, getting to his pit box. Casey said the car had gone more free on that last run. They were talking about a chassis adjustment, definitely going with an air pressure change on this 9 solid stops so far by the Bud guys.
Martin Truex and Scott Speed complete their stops as we're in green flag pit stops with 113 to go.
Here comes Kyle Busch in the 18 car. Remember, he had a problem earlier, and I think we're going to see Denny Hamlin at 11 car. You can't stay out there on these old tires. They will absolutely run over you with those fresh tires.
Krista?
Denny Hamlin had come in, and Mike Ford said, when in this run did your car get loose in and loose off? The answer, 26 laps in. It didn't start to get loose to the point where it bothered Denny Hamlin until lap 202. A very good race car for the 11. They make just a small adjustment. They've been making small adjustments all day.
Max Pappas is in as well. Kyle Busch's service is done. He is out. And Boris Said almost comes to a stop in the pit lane, trying to get down to the pit road speed average in that first segment.
A little trouble on the 11 stop there. They had trouble on left front.
So that leaves Jeff Burton and Bill Elliott as cars that have not been in and are running first and second. Elliott's won so much here. He's George's favorite son. They've named a grandstand for him.
And of course, Bill Elliott, Jeff Burton would love to see a caution right now because we only have 10 cars on the lead lap until those 2 guys come to pit road.
Let's show you what happened on the pit stop for Denny Hamlin.
Oh, not enough hose.
And I mean, the clock's just ticking away. You can see the right front guy was already done before he even got the right rear off, and that's precious seconds.
Well, the left front guy's over there picking up lug nuts too.
Jeff Burton on pit road in his Richard Childress Chevy. He is the race leader. Krista?
And this could get interesting. Jeff Burton only has brakes on the front of the car. He had to kind of just wiggle it in a little bit. They were worried they may not have enough brakes to even stop in the pit stall. And Jeff Burton actually had the best rear grip that he's had all day on that run.
Bill Elliott climbed the hill in 1 and 2, almost to the wall. He's out of tires. He is bringing the Wood Brothers Ford to pit road.
So we have now cycled all the way through. Casey Kane had such a lead, even with pitting later than these other guys. He's going to assume the lead, but the real winners on this deal, remember, Jimmy Johnson pitted back on lap 201 and Tony Stewart on 189. They got advantage of those fresh tires. They are running second and third now. And remember, Keselowski, he pitted early. He's running fourth in that 12 car.
And it doesn't ever surprise me with this car that we hear people having brake troubles.
Oh, pass-through penalty for Jeff Burton. Too fast entering the pits.
If you don't have brakes, you know, you can't slow the car down. My point about the brakes is this car uses more brake. The drivers use the brakes more on this car than they did on the old one, trying to plant the nose, rear brake. They do a lot of things with the brake bias that we've never done before.
Yeah, you see brake dust come out of these wheels like we used to see on a short track.
Exactly.
.108 laps to go. And Casey Kane out in front of Jimmy Johnson by 4 seconds. Kane trying to back up his win here from last fall. There's Casey Kane.
Casey Kane in the 9 car.
Casey Kane wins. It all belongs to Casey Kane.
By the way, young man, this bud's for you.
Sprint brings you an inside look at what's happening now inside the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Top speed Jeff Burton 180.94 miles per hour. And at this moment, Jimmy Johnson would take over the Sprint Cup Series point lead. He is running second, and Kevin Harvick, who came into this race with the point lead, is 22nd. There's a look at the difference based on where they're running right now. Not a great day for most of Hendrick Motorsports, nor is it a stellar day for Richard Childress Racing.
No, but that 48 car just keeps inching closer and closer to the front, and we got a caution.
Debris on the front straightaway will put us under caution for the 7th time today.
That's actually a huge break, in my opinion, for cars like Tony Stewart, like Jimmy Johnson, because remember, they were so far off sequence on those guys that made their regular scheduled pit stops under green.
There's Stewart running in 7th.
Yeah, Tony was going to have to pit probably in about 15 laps with that 14 car.
So Casey Kane the leader, Jimmy Johnson second, Kurt Busch third. And what a day Brad Keselowski has had. After getting into Carl Edwards to bring out the third caution of the day, and then getting into the wall with the whole right side of his car, he has stormed back and is running in the top 5.
Well, he is running that well too. He didn't luck in there by pit stops or anything else. That car has been that good.
Jamie McMurray will be the free pass car on this caution.
And I think it's been long enough since everyone made their stop that everyone will come to pit road for 4 fresh tires, because we are now right at 100 laps to go in this 500-mile race.
Pit road's open, and here they come. Matt?
Mike, just like on the interstate, the 9 team is worried about the 48. The 48's worried about the 38. Everyone's going to try to stop short in their box. Casey Kane said his car's a little free, no changes. The same thing for Jimmy Johnson. He said he started to get free on that last run. They're going to make a track bar adjustment. Dick?
Brad Keselowski pits out of the 4th position. They're going to make a minor chassis adjustment in the car and 4 tires. Jay Guy has done a great job running this team, Krista.
Mike Ford told his crew, we got to get that time back from that bad stop before. 4 tires. Steve.
Mr. Kurt Busch says his car is better. A little loose in, a little loose off, and a little air in the right front for the 2.
Once again, David Gilliland does not pit, so he is the race leader.
Look at the gain at Allmendinger, that 43 car. Picked up 3 spots, and it doesn't matter who's guiding the ship for that 17 car. They prevail on pit road, 5 spots.
Car's good, pit crew's better.
99 laps to go in the Kobalt Tools 500.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Verizon Wireless. Big racing fan? Get Verizon Championship Racing for race highlights, behind the scenes, and exclusive interviews right on your VCast phone. From the network with the most 3G coverage. Verizon.
How were you before that? Were you decent early running?
You'll have to go off the lap times. I mean, I was passing so many cars a lap that I don't even know if I had a clean lap for the first 5 or 8.
Yeah, I can't tell by lap time.
Jimmy Johnson running third behind Casey Kane and Kurt Busch. He and crew chief Chad Knaus.
You know what I like about them? What I really like about those two guys, even when it's going good, they still challenge each other. I mean, it's not cranky and it's not, not snippy. They just kind of challenge each other.
Did you say cranky?
I think that's what he said.
What do you think?
I think we ought to crank it up on this restart.
Giving the field the goodbye look. Look at how he stepped it out over Casey Kane in just a couple of laps. It's 1 second back to Kane. Then Hamlin, Johnson, Kenseth, Allmendinger, Keselowski right there.
Allmendinger and Keselowski, those are two guys that have just, and Sam Hornish. And these guys are not just there by luck. They are running today, man.
The top of the day, we talked about the 83 Vickers, the 98 Menard. There they battled for 13th place. And here's the race for third.
This 48, he gets all he can get when those tires are fresh and he's on sticking tires, and he doesn't mind going to the top or going to the bottom.
You know, Larry, you made a point, and I think it's a good one, about some of the Hendrick cars are maybe having to push the envelope a little too far. When would be a good time to do that in a season?
Early in the season. Do your testing now.
Roger.
If you're missing Montoya, he's back in 9th place between Biffle and Hornish as they slug it out.
Well, and I think Dick Bergman was telling us at a break that he didn't have the greatest pit stop the last time, and he was starting to complain about the car starting to really slide around. No grip in either end.
Jeff Gordon is 2 laps down. Tire troubles as he interrupts the Vickers Menard battle.
And you know something that's really maybe played into some of these guys' hands today too? The harder you go, the more trouble you're going to have. You know, if you don't drive 100% all the time, your tires might last longer and you might have a little less trouble.
Those two are about to have company with Clint Boyer coming on the high side, chasing Menard. And there he is. Boyer's right in the midst of it. And so too Marcus Ambrose and Kyle Busch. All these cars are racing for position for 13th.
And just remember, Boyer and Kyle Busch are both cars that had some tire issues earlier and had to come to pit road for unscheduled stop. They fought their way back.
Hey, Chris, what's the strategy down there?
Well, DW, you just nailed it. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and that's what the 11 knows. They can't run hard all the time. In fact, the word they used midway through this race, maintain.
Well, The problem is she's going to become a sprint here very shortly because we're down now to less than 90 laps to go.
It's all right. But I love this. Who would think you'd have such a whale of a battle for 13th place with 89 laps to go?
All those guys that are in trouble.
Jeff Burton trying to come back from that speeding penalty.
And Mike, you mentioned Jeff Gordon 2 laps down. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car you see right there. He as well is 2 laps down, our pole sitter.
And Burton in the midst of that, but he is 1 lap down. In fact, he's the first car 1 lap down. Scott Speed right in the midst of it. He's on the lead lap. Has been all day. He is 18th in the 82.
Speed's car seems to stay better longer. It gets going in the long run. Really picks them off after a few laps.
Up front, Kurt Busch's lead disappeared. Casey Kane set to capitalize. 6 of Kane's 11 wins have come on mile-and-a-half racetracks. Steve, what happened to Kurt Busch's lead?
Well, I just think it's the 9 car has gotten better, but Mike, we want to play some audio. Listen to how much fun Kurt Busch is having in that 2 car.
I was wide open through 1 and 2. Bad to the bone.
Let me tell you, if you're wide open through 1 and 2 right now in this race, you are bad to the bone.
Well, and I think one thing that's starting to help that is we're hearing that the track temperature is coming down. I think it's mainly in 1 and 2 because those billboards are starting to really shade that racetrack. It's gaining some grip.
But I've just seen it pretty much all day. That 2 car is pretty fast for maybe 10, 15 laps, but then the 9 seems to be a little better 15, 20 laps on into a run. Matt, what do they say?
And DW, Casey's moving around a little bit. Earlier in the race, he was right down on the bottom yellow line. Then he started to lose the handle and was running a lane up. He's been able to try to migrate back down to the low side, working on Kurt Busch, but his car just a tick still on the free side.
When it's free and you get down low like he is right there, you get through those bumps and you see what happens to it. Car starts moving the front up and down a little bit, and the back end will step out with you. So that must be what he's fighting.
But I'm telling you, look at these guys racing door handle to door handle, swapping the lead. I think this just goes to show you that all the work that NASCAR's done, that Goodyear's done, we haven't seen good racing like this in a long, long time at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We've had great finishes, but not necessarily this kind of racing.
Well, if that beer battle continues side by side, they're going to have home improvement right at their back door, and that would be Jimmy Johnson, who has cut about 0.3 of a second in the last 3 laps from the advantage that this duo had over him in 3rd place and Denny Hamlin in 4th.
The 48 is lurking, just like he did last week. Watching the race, liking what he's seeing. Y'all boys going up there and race each other. I'll sit here and watch for a while.
83 laps to the finish. Plenty of time for anything to happen.
The Kobalt Tools 500 is sponsored by Chevy. Every model is backed by a 5-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. By Napa, Napa know-how. And by Coca-Cola. Open a Coke and enjoy the race.
77 laps to go in Atlanta. You're watching race leader Casey Kane from our aerial coverage, brought to you by DirecTV. It'll change your life. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Let's show you the lead lap cars beginning at 21st place with the number 21, a 5-time Atlanta race winner, Bill Elliott.
What helped him was that caution. When he stayed out and led some laps, that caution came out just right for him.
Started 34th. Now Sam Hornish has been in the top 10 much of the day, but he slid back to 20th. Steve?
And he may have a problem, Mike Joy, which is a shame. As you said, he got up to the top 10. I mentioned a while ago that he may have a horsepower problem. Well, it's actually a power problem. He said he has switched ignition boxes. The crew has a backup battery ready in the pit. So it's not horsepower. It may be just power in general.
We're getting into that last 100 miles where this place starts taking a toll on engines.
This is when you don't want any achy breaky parts. I'm telling you, they're getting tired.
18th is David Gilliland. Got to tell the story again. His car owner Bob Jenkins was watching racing on TV, told his wife, I want to start a race team. I want to be in Sprint Cup racing. And his wife said, we don't even own our road car. We lease it. You want to buy race cars and a race team? Gosh darn it, he's got a multi-car operation and doing well.
But I'm going to tell you what, as we look at Scott Speed, that's in the 18th position, back to Gilliland. Remember, that's a guy that I think's been more than a fair sport, staying out an extra lap on pit road that leave the opening for that 48 car.
Yep, hasn't hurt him. Scott Speed's had a good day. And how about Kyle Busch for the elevator ride of the day, being up and down and up and down, and he's trying to fight his way back, Kristen, out from 17th.
Yeah, I guess that would be a little bit like a yo-yo. You know, he raced in the truck race yesterday for his own team, and competition director Rick Wren called Dave Rogers last night to give him tips on this tire. They have had tire issues. At one point, Kyle Busch told his team, get the plane ready. He was ready to go. Now he's going in the other direction, climbing back up the speed chart.
16th, Jamie McMurray in his Chevrolet, started 24th today. And up to 15th, Brian Vickers. He's flirted with the top 10. Vickers started 26th in his Toyota.
By far the best run they've had in a long time.
He's only inches off that wall all the way around. I'm telling you, he's been touching it.
Now Marcus Ambrose finds himself in the 14th position, and he found himself in the middle of a hornet's nest a bit ago. Watch this.
This gets a little dicey right here. 18 gives the 47 of Marcos a little love tap. He loves love.
And Jeff Burton, that 31, is fighting, trying to stay the first car lap down to get a free pass if we get a caution.
Clint Boyer has twice taken advantage of the free pass to stay on the lead lap, but since then they've made gains on his Chevy. He's up to 13th. Slipping and sliding.
I'm telling you right now, the track is as slick as it's been all day. Trying as hard as you can try right now. Come down to the end of the day, you're going to see a lot of cars out of control.
And Greg Biffle in a backup car has done an admirable job, although he's one of those trying to knock the wall down at either end, as is Martin Truex, who started 13th and runs in 11th.
He's just been hanging inside that top 15 for most of the day.
I know you mentioned him a little bit ago, and we're not on him now, but Sam Hornish, I feel sorry for him.
Yep.
His car has gone sour. You can hear it when it goes by, and he's falling back through the field, but what a great job he did early on here today.
Paul Menard has been strong all day long, and Larry, this could be a career day for Menard.
Yeah, I mean, this is his 115th start. He only has 2 top 10 finishes in those 115 starts.
Tony Stewart has been up front. He's made an unscheduled stop. He's come back from that. The caution fell in the right place for him to get a wave around, and Smoke started out back with an engine change, and he's now 9th. And A.J. Allmendinger, we said there'd be some surprises in this race, and this is one of the top 2. Allmendinger in 8th place, giving that Richard Petty Ford a great ride today. When Paulo Montoya led a bit, ran in the top 5 a lot, and now seems to have settled in 7th place. But the big surprise of the race, Brad Keselowski triggered a caution, hit the wall, but has rebounded, Dick, to run in 6th place.
Jay Guy watched the tape of last year's race, realized they needed to start off quick on the restarts. That's what they worked on. They got it. They're fast.
Matt Kenseth, 2nd of the Fords in this race in his Roush Fenway number 17, and 5th on the board. Had a decent qualifying run, which surprised him a little. He says he's not a good qualifier here. He started 14th. 4th is Denny Hamlin's Toyota. Hamlin was elated this morning when he got a text wishing him well in the race today from Michael Jordan. He's pretty jazzed up about that.
It's making Michael happy.
Ahead of him, the battle is for 2nd, and it's Kurt Busch and Jimmy Johnson.
I got a text from Tim Tebow, said he brought my car back.
Empty on gas.
Yeah, you were even happier.
But I definitely think this 2 car is starting to go away a little bit, and as Darrell put it, I think he's just lurking, that 48.
Let's hear what the lurker had to say.
3171, what have you got now? Pretty damn good.
That's way better than when it's that good.
He is 2.3 seconds behind race leader Casey Kane, and battling Kurt Busch, last year's winner, for second.
He is really good. You know how you know he's good? Because he came off that corner underneath that 2 car, and the car didn't slip, slide, get sideways, or anything else. He just powered right up underneath it.
And that's the most confidence I've heard in his voice in a couple of weeks, even after winning Las Vegas last week.
Steve?
Mike, Kurt Busch just told Steve Addington, I'm tracking a little bit to the loose side. They're already talking about their adjustments for the next pit stop. They're going to drop the track bar and drop some air out of the front tires.
Boy, that 48 car had his hands full then, didn't he?
Take back what I said.
Good job, bud. Good job.
Let's see that again.
He's trying really hard. He wants to get around Kurt here, but oh my goodness. You know what that looked like? Too much rear brake. That's right where you would apply a little bit of brake to get that car to turn. May have just stepped on that brake pedal a little too hard.
And just to set the stage, we have 64 laps to go. If we stay green, we will have green flag pit stops coming up in about 12 to 16 laps. Might be the money stop.
When you do that, though, you get your right rear tire mad.
Can Jimmie Johnson make it 3 wins in a row?
It's going to take brains and brawn to finish up front.
Back live in Atlanta, Casey Kane has led 127 plus laps, by far the most in this race. Kurt Busch, who's led 80, is running second, and Jimmie Johnson going for his 3rd straight. Denny Hamlin running 4th at the time. Jeff Hammond came in with a tire problem moments ago.
Yeah, we're getting a report from down on pit road. His right front tire looked a lot like the 18 car of Kyle Busch, and definitely had some fraying on that right front, so he had to make an unscheduled pit stop, and this definitely puts him at odds with everybody else. If it cycles through, he can have more laps on his tire than anybody else, and that's really hurts you all day long.
Just 57 laps to go.
And watching that car, Dale Jr. was definitely sideways right there when the 5 car of Mark Martin. Take a look at this, Chris. Coming off his corner, Mark kind of started looking underneath him. You see the 88, he gets sideways. You can see him inside there, working it inside there. You can see his hands back and forth, trying to save that 88 car.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr., our pole sitter, has not led a lap all day. 2 laps down currently, and is having some problems.
Yeah, he's currently running 30th right now. He's had tire issues all day long. But here's the guy that's really risen to the top of the cream of the crop all day long. The 9 car, Casey Kane, had some troubles on pit road, but he's been fighting his way back all day long. His car has been solid. No mistakes, no problems with any kind of tires all day long.
And Casey Kane, his future, like that Oscar-nominated movie Up in the Air. I mean, he's not sure he's going to be back with Richard Petty Motorsports for.
Well, he keeps having solid runs like this. There's no reason to leave Richard Petty Motorsports. But the key is, and Larry McReynolds was talking about it a minute ago, we've got pit stops coming up here in a short while. And if the guys, we restarted this race on roughly 2:30, so that means you kind of split it. You need to make about 48 laps and then make another 48 laps to finish this race. And I think that's what I'd like to do if I was a crew chief. The key is, I think, with the 9 cars, don't get caught staying out too long. The guys are going to start making their pit stops, I think, in the next 8 or 10 laps.
And we saw earlier they lost 6 spots, the 9 crew, and Casey Kane was able to make that up. So don't forget to vote for the fastest pit crew. Text your selection to 2258.
Here are the guys I've been liking all day long. The 2 of Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin's crew's been solid, even though we had a problem just a moment ago, as well as the 9 car of Casey Kane.
And delivered by AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. As we're looking at pit stops, let's check in Tony Stewart and Steve Burns.
Chris, Tony Stewart down pit road. He just told his crew it's nice on entry and exit. It's just a little bit too tight in the center. See a chassis adjustment on the 14, obviously 4 tires. 4 tires is packed full of gas, and he's away back up to Mike Joy.
Thanks, Steve. Regan Smith is in right behind him. The pit window has just barely opened, meaning that if the race stays green, they can go the distance from here.
Yeah, what Darian Grubb, crew chief for Tony Stewart, did, he got to that window and said, you know what, we're going to try to take advantage of fresh tires just as quick as possible.
Elliott Sadler and Bill Elliott choosing to do the same with 52 laps to go.
The good thing, though, Jeff Hammond just touched on it. With Casey Kane, he can play a little bit of cat and mouse here. He has a 4-second lead to play with. He can let a lot of those guys hit pit road. He's got all that he can kind of stay out there, because the last thing he wants to do is short pit and get burnt by a caution.
Second of our lead lap cars to pit is Marcus Ambrose. Krista.
Mike, Marcus had been losing the handling on his race car. It was hitting a ground. They're going to take the time to put a Packer in the left front. You see the 47 come in there. The crew over on the right side. They're going to take a little bit of extra time on the left side. Matt.
Jimmy Johnson keyed to Mike and said, I've got a flat, possibly left front. I am coming now. Jimmy said the car was really in the racetrack. He needed to roll better, though, through 3 and 4, the center. To Steve.
Keselowski, Steve.
Well, guys, Steve Addington just told Kurt Busch, bring it down. Tony Stewart just short pitted us. Kurt says I'm loose everywhere. They're going to make a track bar adjustment for Kurt Busch.
Dale Jr.'s in. Scott Speed stopping as well, as is Kevin Harvick. And here's Juan Montoya. Dick Berggren.
Montoya ordinarily talks about the behavior of his car and lets the crew decide what to do to it. This time, he both talked about the behavior of the car and what he wanted the crew to do with tire pressure and also chassis adjustments. They've been fighting grip all day long. Krista.
Remember, the 31 had brake issues. They had to clamp off the rear brake line. They had no rear brakes. He had a speeding penalty last time he was in. Now Jeff Burton, crew working on the right side, trying to get the handling right on his race car. Matt?
And Matt Kenseth wanting a air pressure change, and they were also talking about a chassis adjustment for the 17. The back just not in the racetrack like he needed on that 17 machine.
Clint Boyer, Brian Vickers, now Martin Truex in the pit lane. Jamie McMurray, Bobby Labonte. They push him out, get him going and away. Allmendinger's in, and Steve.
Martin Truex Jr. battling the handle on that 56, but he said about 10 laps ago has gotten pretty good. His concern is he's running a little bit warm. 4 tires and an air pressure adjustment for Truex, Matt.
Steve, Casey Kane says the car started out really well at the beginning of the run, but then the back end just came out of the racetrack and lost a lot of the forward bite.
Paul Menard is in. What a great race he's had today. And Mark Martin pits. Krista?
Great race indeed for Paul Menard. In fact, his race car is so good right now, they are making no changes on the 98. Just 4 tires and fuel. At one point, he was the fastest car on the track.
Mike Bliss in and out. 4 tires for Mark Martin. And 2 penalties. Bill Elliott too fast entering. He's already been in to serve that penalty for the Wood brothers. Jeff Burton, second time today, he's been nabbed by the speeding police.
3rd race in a row, too. He got one in California, got one in Vegas, he got 2 today.
And I'm corrected, Bill Elliott was missing a lug nut. That's why he had to come back to pit road. Jeff Gordon's in, Boris Said, and Max Pappas. Very few cars out of this race. Nemechek, Rudeman, Blaney, McDowell, Robbie Gordon. Everybody else still on track.
For that to get it hard, get it hard, get it, get it, get it, get it, get it, get it, get it right there.
So Denny Hamlin is your race leader over Kurt Busch.
I don't know, not for long. Here he comes.
All right, the reason that the 11 is leading this race, remember, he made that pit stop on lap 266 with 59 to go. My concern for him, he's not going to make it without stopping. Kurt Busch should be in good shape. Now, the reason the 2 car is so far out in front of the 9 car is he pitted about 4 laps before the 9 car, got advantage of those fresh tires that much.
Yeah, if you want to see the real gap, the 9 to the 48, they pitted together. And that's the 9 up here in the middle of 3 and 4 and the 48 back here. So that's the real gap if you want to tires to tires.
Well, the 11 car used Kevin Conway, the 37, a lap down car, as a pick that time.
Little strategy audio from Denny Hamlin's team.
We left short, or we might. We're right on the border. We can make it on fuel right here, but none to spare.
And there's so many things you have to factor in that. Remember the new rule that we have 3 attempts at green, white, checker. But the thing I will say, normally the trends say, remember FedEx understanding the race, we always get a caution somewhere between lap 25 and 35.
These guys with fresh tires versus old tires, it's like they catch them up so fast. The guy they're catching up to doesn't know which way to go, man. I've seen a couple of near misses.
Jimmy Johnson sitting in fourth, winner of the last 2 races. He's also the last driver to win 3 in a row. That happened in 2007. And here's Matt on the 48.
Mike, the wear pattern issue that we've been following on the 24, Jeff Gordon on that right front, similar issue for Jimmy Johnson, although his looked much worse than Gordon's. About 2 laps before he said, I've got to hit pit road, he radioed the Chad Knaus. I picked up a slight vibration. Great call by the driver. Called an audible, came in a couple laps early so they wouldn't have any bigger issue with that right front.
Tell you what, that 11 car can make it on fuel, but his biggest problem is engine number 9. Look at that 9 car of Casey Kane.
He's getting back in the gas about 20 car lengths for anybody else and really accelerating up off these corners, and the car's sticking for him.
Right there, that showed it right there. That was on the gas and not on the gas.
Adios.
Looking for his 3rd Atlanta win. Casey Kane goes back out front with 42 laps to go in the Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. By Subway Restaurants. Now any regular footlong is just $5. Any. So hurry in. And from Warner Brothers Pictures Clash of the Titans, the Clash begins in theaters everywhere April 2nd.
Sprint brings you an inside look at what's happening now inside the Sprint Cup Series. That's how many eyeballs are glued to Fox and to NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. Biggest mover today, up 32 positions, is Tony Stewart. You saw the pace car leading the field around under caution. Here's why.
It's that left front tire.
Denny Hamlin cuts down a left front, and the debris puts us under caution for the 8th time today. Pit road is open. Here's Matt.
Kane stopped short in his box. He would like to have pushed in a spring rubber, but he didn't want to take the time. No changes for the 9. Meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson says he's got decent grip. More of the same from the last stop.
Says he was loose everywhere. Looks like he's going to win the battle off pit road. They took a ½ pound out of both rear tires. Small adjustment up on the track bar.
That Penske team's been good today.
Well, I like their pit selection down there. You know, he got a good launch out of that pit box, and he beat Casey Kane back there. You see the 48 lost 3 spots. He was over the line when he got into his pit box. They had to back him up before they could do the pit stop.
Backed him up, and still they had a pretty sloppy stop too, so that really took them out of sync when they had to do that, out of their rhythm.
And once again, David Gilliland is the good guy as far as the 48 getting in and out of their pit stall is concerned. He leads this race and will make his pit stop next time by.
Well, he's already got his 5 bonus points for the day, and he's getting a few more here, but still he's been a good team player as well. Those points are helping him.
There's the tire off the 11 car. We talked about the FedEx understanding the race. A late race caution. The FedEx car brought it out.
Chris Myers.
Mike, just a quick recap here. 28 lead changes, 12 different leaders today. And if you tuned in a little bit late here in Atlanta, remember that Dale Earnhardt Jr. won the pole, his first pole in nearly 2 years, but never led a lap. Kyle Busch did lead 22 laps. We had 3 cautions in the first 41 laps.
I really thought it was his fault, but that replay
Keselowski
doesn't look
into Carl Edwards.
Looked like it was as malicious as I thought.
Joey Logano was also involved in that as well. And here, tire problems from Dale Earnhardt Jr. We counted Jeff Hammond, as you look at David Reagan, who also had some, at least more than a dozen drivers with tire issues.
Yeah, we've seen right side tires, we've seen left side tires give issues all day long. And that's been the one thing that's been kind of plaguing everybody. As you see here, Joey Logano, he loses the right front tire. We're taking a look at Tony Stewart's car, a left rear off of his number 14 car. So tires have been a big part of today's race.
And Denny Hamlin moments ago with the tire issue, bringing out the 8th caution. We've had 9 this season at Daytona. That's been the most. But Jeff, other than the tire issue, the one constant, Casey Kane and Kurt Busch, how well they have run today.
We know how good Kurt Busch is at this racetrack, but today Casey Kane has been just equal to the task. Every time you turn around, these two guys are battling. But so far, I think Casey Kane has got the better car in the long run, but we've only got 35 laps to go. So it's going to be basically dog eat dog, and you got to get up on that wheel if you want to win.
And Jimmy Johnson, who came in going for his 3rd straight win, we just saw that he lost 3 spots on the latest round of pit stops.
Yeah, I understand they had a little bit of a miscue. He got in a little bit hot, got over the line, had to back him up. And then Darrell said they had a little bit of sloppy pit stop. But 2 guys right now that's in 3rd and 4th you better keep an eye on. That's Matt Kenseth and Brad Keselowski.
Let's head back upstairs to Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
It's Chris from Warner Brothers Pictures. Clash of the Titans. The Clash begins in theaters everywhere April 2nd.
Well, you know that old saying, if you got them, use them. You got them.
You got them now. You don't have to worry about no long run.
Matt?
And Mike, we've talked a lot about issues up and down pit road all afternoon with different teams, and this is some conversation between the 48's crew chief and driver.
I'm sorry, guys. Was the pit sign still out there, or did I just blow through it?
Hey, you just kind of went through it. Right when you get your eyes checked this week.
No, I just, when I came over, when I looked in after trying to dodge the guy in the 9 car, I just didn't know where I was supposed to stop for whatever reason.
Thoughts of Jimmy Johnson? He will restart 7th. Now, Marcus Ambrose had a commit line violation. He'll start at the tail end.
And I think you see right there, look at the difference between Kurt Busch and Jimmy Johnson, especially on the right side. That's where the real difference was. You can see the jack and the left side pretty comparable, but that right side, which was all about going across the line, having to be pushed back before they could complete the stop.
34 laps to go, 33 at the stripe when they get the green. 6 of the last 7 Atlanta races have had a caution within the last 25 laps.
I don't know that we're done yet.
Oh, no. What are we doing here? We're all grouped up, and everything is on the line. You're going to drive harder and take more chances now, and you have all day long.
Green flag, 33 to go.
This is what it's all about.
Trouble
right here,
front
Alfie.
straightaway.
Yeah, no kidding.
In the wall goes the 13 with the 19. Elliott Sadler gets tied up with Max Pappas.
No yellow yet.
I think these guys are going to get going. Pappas has got to. No, the 13 is going to probably throw rubber all over the racetrack.
Something will happen here. Get all you can.
He gets down to the apron.
We're still green.
Stay below the yellow line.
And here comes everybody. Caution waves.
Yeah, there's no way the 13's got a right front tire coming apart.
Well, all those wave around cars, that's what they were banking on right there. A lot of them got back on the lead lap, Mike.
And there were about a dozen of them that got waved around.
Mark Martin, Bill Elliott, Bobby Labonte, Jeff Burton, bunch of guys.
Oh, somebody hit Elliott Sadler, and he got turned right in front of Max Pappas. Sadler in the white car. And you could just see him get turned.
So easy to spin the tires, miss a shift, and get run over from behind, and that's what happens. You get a chain reaction.
The free pass car is Mark Martin. That'll put Mark, who is in 20th place, back on the lead lap. Pits will be open. Any takers?
Oh, you might have some of those guys that just did the wave around that didn't come to pit road that time. I'm sure they will be on pit road to go ahead and get 4 tires and maybe more adjustments.
These guys look awfully ready right here.
For being in 6th place, and Jimmy's coming.
48 car. Yep. He's on pit road.
He is on pit road.
Matt's waiting on him.
And Mike, shortly before we went back to green, Chad Knaus asked Jimmy Johnson when he was swerving back and forth, cleaning the tires, did he feel anything dragging or possibly even rubbing in the front? He said no. But they showed on the inside sidewall of the right front that something was indeed rubbing. So they brought him back down. You can see work going on that right front. Chad wanted to take it off and just see if something indeed might have come loose or rubbing. They are definitely going to work on that right side.
Well, with all the issues they've had today, this is a great time to make sure.
Looks like maybe a fender bracelet probably happened right here, Larry.
Yeah, we heard some radio transmission that he did not even know the 39 was there. That actually happened well before that last caution.
I didn't know he was outside of me, man. My bad on that.
Quite a few pit stops under this caution flag. Now, if you think there's a lot of contact here, you just wait 2 weeks. The engines roar in Thunder Valley, the Roman Coliseum of NASCAR, Bristol, Tennessee.
I've always said about Bristol, brings out the best in you, brings out the worst in you.
Well, he just got the Bristol stomp put on him.
You keep doing that, eventually it's going to come back and bite you. So I always remember that stuff.
As we said, this is Bristol. 2 weeks from today, Food City 500 on Fox. We'll take a break and get back to the green flag with about 30 laps to go in the Kobalt Tools 500 in Atlanta.
Back them up, back them up, back them up, back them up. Go, 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 go. Here's the deal. Next time we'll just stop them shorter, guys, if they're not going to back up in their box a little bit more. All clear. Let's just take care of her then. Yeah, hit the wall hard, cut her right front. Tiger, he quit racing me like that. I just let him go. Faster than I am.
It'll be 28 laps to go when they take this restart. New complexion of the top 10. Kurt Busch is your leader. Matt Kenseth up to second. Montoya third. Kane fourth. Keselowski fifth. They're waving off the restart with Allmendinger sixth. Clint Boyer seventh. Martin Truex eighth. Paul Menard ninth. And Greg Biffle 10th.
I said that this morning, I said this race today would be a crapshoot. And somebody said, well, what does that mean? Look at that top 10. That's a crapshoot right there.
And one thing I see in that top 10 as well, with Chevrolet flexing their muscles so much this year, they've won all the races essentially. We only have 2 Chevrolets up there, Montoya in third and Clint Boyer in seventh.
Here's a look at the field under caution from today's aerial coverage, brought to you by DirecTV. It'll change your life. Call 1-800-DirecTV. You see all that shade from the blimp down in turns 1 and 2. Bright sun in turns 3 and 4. Track temp there just a little cooler than when we started the day.
And this thing is just gaining some grip, and we very well are going to probably see some fast lap times here.
20 cars on the lead lap. Denny Hamlin, the first car, showing 1 lap down.
And Larry, I know you've talked about this guy being a team player all day and working with everybody, but look where he's running.
Yeah, he's actually in the top 15
He
now.
stayed on the lead lap all day long. He's worked with the guys in the pits. Bring her home, son.
And that's huge for that group. I know they run 3 cars, but they don't even have the resources of hardly any of the race teams that are out there by far.
Be a great day for the 38 and David Gilliland. David Reagan back on track, down a lot of laps, 39th position after crash damage. Martin Truex, he's 8th.
Yeah, here's a guy we thought may be a real challenger today. We'll see before this is over with.
Green flag with 27 laps to go.
Matt Kenseth in that 17 car on the high side. Let's see if he can get that run off turn 2. That 2 car's been so strong even on the bottom.
Matt Kenseth is probably the one guy that if you said how good is he, I wouldn't know until it came showtime.
And I'm going to tell you what, he buried her down in 3 and 4, but look at that 2 car pick up the gas in the middle of 3 and 4.
Kenseth has said they need the long run for that car to be really good. We'll see if he gets one.
I got to believe Todd Perry probably made some significant changes to the car for this last little shootout here.
Knowing it was going to be a shorter run.
Short run.
Come up with that air pressure just a little bit or something.
Hey, he's only got to go half a fuel run, 27 laps, if it stays green. That could be a big if.
Yes, it could. Yes, it could.
Especially here.
Not really.
And Montoya is back in the picture. Juan Montoya in 3rd place, not far back of the leaders.
That 2 car, he is just so strong right now. It's like he just gets off the corner, through the middle and off the corner. I mean, like a rocket.
Kurt had 2 wins in 2009, and they both came on 1.5-mile tracks. This race last year and the fall race at Texas.
Nobody had anything for him here last year.
Nope.
Late in the race, he was able to hold off everybody, and I think he might be able to do it again today. I thought the 9 car would be equal to the 2, but I'm not sure he can get up there.
And Kirk's had a pretty dismal start. Got a top 10 finish in California. And Krista talked to him in the pre-race. Remember, he said this win a year ago was a defining moment for his 2009 season. The highest finisher in the points, there was not a Hendrick car.
Well, you know, if you're any of those first 3 or 4 guys there, you look in your mirror and you'll say, who's that in that red car? Keselowski.
Yeah, there's a bunch of red cars back there.
Who's that in that green car?
Allmendinger. Keselowski 5th, Allmendinger 6th. As you look at Kurt Busch, the race leader, and he's opened up 0.8 of a second. There's that battle. There's Allmendinger. 6th place for Richard Petty Motorsports in the Ford. And just ahead of him, Keselowski having a great day. Also for Roger Penske, like our race leader. Keselowski's had 3 nationwide races here and 3 Camping World Truck races here. And hello.
This is a battle for position right here with Burton in that 31. All kinds of lead lap cars here, including Scott Speed back there in that 82 car.
I think one was hunting and one was fishing. They went around the old Bass Pro Shop car.
Well, let's find out from some crew chiefs how this will shake out. Steve with the leader.
With Steve Addington. And Steve, you guys have been chasing this track. The car's been loose, but you're in a good spot right now. Do you feel good about the end?
Yeah, I think if we go green here, we'll be in pretty good shape. I just want to say I'm proud of everybody on this Snow White car. They worked hard this week. We chased the racetrack big time with kind of awesome drivers sitting in that seat. He's gave great feedback all day long. We've just been tweaking here and there. So this place is so different, man. I just hope he can hang on here and get him a win.
They've been on the same page, Dick Bergeron.
And Brian Patty is Montoya's crew chief. What do you got to do to win this race?
Needed to go green for a little while. Our car really comes on here about 20 laps. It's about a perfect stint for us because late in the run we start losing forward bites. So I don't know. It's one of his best racetracks. We'll see what he's got.
Okay, Matt.
Kasey Kahne, Dick, needs a long run to really show what that 9 car can do. You've got a short run here. Do you have enough time to get up and make a battle with the 2? The car's still tight?
Well, it's hard to say. It's a little bit tight this run for some reason, but he's going to give it all he can. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we can get up there.
Steve.
Tony Stewart on pit road. He thinks he has another problem with the right front. Right side tires for Tony Stewart. Now they'll take 4. Costly pit stop for Stewart.
Stewart was running 13th and came out of pit road, replaced that tire. At 2nd place, Kenseth Montoya.
Kenseth's going to stay on the bottom. You can pretty well bet on that. And Montoya, well, he's liable to go just about anywhere.
Wherever he needs to go.
He'll go high for a while and low for a while.
What a battle. The Wisconsin short tracker against the Colombian road racer and open wheeler.
Indy 500 winner. Formula One race winner
against a Daytona 500 winner.
Some heavy credentials.
But here comes that 9 car of Kasey Kahne. We just talked to his crew chief, Kenny Francis, right now complaining about his car being just a little bit tight. And I'm sure when he gets up behind those cars, but look how much Montoya got back to the gas quicker than Kenseth, and that speed will carry all the way down this straightaway. He should take that 2nd position away.
When you stick that splitter up on the back of the car in front of you, you loosen that car in front of you up just enough that he's got to squeeze out a tiny bit and you're able to make that pass.
And the question becomes, how much can Montoya eat into Kurt Busch's lead with 17 to go? Montoya is gaining.
And Mike, you pointed it out earlier. I think Kurt Busch right now will run just as hard as he needs to run. He's not going to use his stuff up, even if he lets those guys close on him just a little bit with 16 to go.
We've seen guys catch up to him a couple of times today. He was able to kick it up a notch, see if he's got anything left.
I hope he has some kick because he just ran a 31.70 to Montoya's 31.40.
That's 3/10, buddy, and that's coming.
And here comes Kasey Kahne.
He clears Kenseth. That moves him up into the 3rd position, but Kenseth's going to fight back.
I am shocked at that 9 car. I thought surely he could just get up there and go good as that car was earlier, almost all day long, really.
Kasey Kahne has yet to have a top 5 finish. Top 5 finish in 2010. He's 23rd in points. Best finish of 9th last week in Vegas.
And just think about Montoya. He came here the first. He loved this place. Man, everybody said, can this cat drive a stock car? Well, he proved right here, the 3rd race of the year, 4th race of the year, that he can definitely wheel a stock car. That was 3 years ago.
Two top fives here.
We've got 15 laps to go, but right now, I think the defining moment was during those green flag pit stops when Steve Addington brought the 2 car in at lap 273. Kenny Francis waited 4 laps. Kane got the lead through the cycle of those stops.
Look at that interval on Montoya, the second place car. That interval right there is shrinking. Not much, a little up, a little down, but it's getting shorter rather than longer.
And that 9 car is even a little bit faster than that 42 car right now.
Yes, maybe. We've seen this today, that the car out front, Clean Air, has just a slight advantage, and that's all he needs right now. If he can maintain the pace that he's on right now, they can't catch him.
13 laps to go. The biggest resurgence of the day. Kevin Harvick's car was nowhere. It was barely on the second page of the speed chart, which is 21st on back. And look how he has climbed to 11th in these last 70 laps.
We've said it about the 48 This is how you win championships. Take a bad day. Don't get a big loss. Don't take a big hit. Come home with something that you can build on.
I mean, you saw it right there. He's not even been in the top 20 today, and here he is just outside the top 10.
He practiced and qualified in the 30s. He'd never been this far up in the field practicing or qualifying.
Most of the day looked like he would lose the Sprint Cup point lead. Now looks like he'll carry it on to Bristol, and
look at
it'll be
this.
The first time in his career he's carried that point lead for 3 weeks in a row.
Look at Rogers' boy go.
Brad Keselowski, this by far would be the best run he's had since driving this 12 car, 3 or 4 races end of last year and this year.
The fastest last lap was Montoya, then Keselowski and Kurt Busch, and now Busch has stepped it up a bit this lap. He's a little quicker than Montoya, 1/10 of a second. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it can be when you're trying to protect the lead.
Hey, you're chasing a champion right here. Don't forget that. He's going to save a little in reserve. Don't take any more chances. Just bring her home.
He's not going to abuse the right front tire or the right rear tire.
10 to go. Good shape.
Speeds at the line. Well, how about that green machine in 6th place? If Allmendinger finishes there, it would be his best finish ever on a non-restrictor plate NASCAR race.
Montoya beat Kurt Busch that time by about 1/10 of a second. 10 to go.
I know he's beating him a little bit, but it kind of reminds me when Hammond would say you're the fastest car on the track, but how come that guy in front of me keeps getting smaller?
Right.
Tell you what, we just saw Allmendinger up there all over the back of Keselowski, no longer over the back of him. He's going to drive to the inside of him.
That's
Top 5.
That's 2 good ones right there now. Boys, y'all behave yourself.
That's an irresistible force on the left, immovable object on the right. And Paul Menard.
Wow.
We talked about him at the top of the day and all day long, having a career day, looking for his 3rd top 10 finish ever.
And I'm going to tell you outside of restrictor plate racing, regardless if they get the win or not, Richard Petty Motorsports, that's 3 cars up in the top 9 for that group.
Kane, Allmendinger, and Menard. That's right. Denny Hamlin trying to fight back. 1 lap down. Running just ahead of 8th place Martin Truex. And here Allmendinger wants more. He wants 4th place.
Well, we've seen this all day out of the 43 car. He gets better the longer he goes. He's really got a good long run car. This just about fell right into his range.
Matt Kenseth, that 17 car, evidently they may have went the wrong way on an adjustment because he continues to lose positions. 7 to go. Now that time Montoya beat Kurt Busch by 2.5 of a second.
Yeah, that was a big bite right there, and you can see it on that back straightaway. That's where we get the best gauge.
It looked that time like Busch was hunting a different line, Larry, kind of searching. Is there somewhere this car runs better? Is there somewhere else I can try?
I think you're right, but I also think Montoya, all of a sudden, he has taken that thing to the yellow line, and he is eating into that lead now.
Montoya is the only driver lapping this track under 32 seconds.
Another 2/10. We're down to a second with 6 to go.
Here's what he's figured out, Mike. High in 1 and 2, low in 3 and 4, and it's really paying off for him. Let's see if he just dives to the bottom here.
Less than a second between them with 6 to go.
And I mean, it is shrinking every corner of every lap.
I think what he's figured out, and it's really paying off, is he's running the high line down here 1 and 2, gets a good run down the back, and then just takes it to the bottom in 3 and 4.
Montoya's gaining 1/10 of a second a lap, but with 5 to go, that's not enough.
Not enough.
Well, actually, it's been 2/10 of a second. You do the math. 5 to go, less than a second. We might get there.
Well, now, that would not be a big surprise.
No, it would not. No, it would not.
The rubber band of Atlanta. Stretch them out, bring them all back together again for the finish. Here we come.
I think what Kurt Busch has done, I think maybe a spotter.
He's taking it too easy. Get it.
I think his spotter told him what Montoya is doing. Now he's trying it.
2/10 of a second again, 6/100ths, 4 to go.
It's going to be a bumper to bumper, probably front bumpers.
We're going to have a little bit of lap traffic up there in front of them. They're pretty scattered out, but they may catch those cars up there.
Boy, this is it right here. This is where Montoya really makes up huge amounts of time.
Montoya,
boy, he's struggling.
Searching his
Put that pressure on him now. 3 to go.
First oval track win. He won it in Infineon 96 races ago on the road course.
And who
half a second. And the 99 has turned over Brad Keselowski.
And we have a caution.
My goodness.
I don't know if I'm okay.
Keselowski was on track for a 6th place finish.
Boy,
and we're told there was contact between Edwards and Keselowski.
And have we seen that somewhere once before?
Talladega last year and early in this race at lap 41.
A little crossover move here by Carl. Clean here, clean here. Just slight contact. Look at that thing go.
That looks so much like Edwards' turnover at Talladega off the bumper of Keselowski.
It really did, and I'm so wondering and hoping that when they put the spoiler back on these cars, they'll quit turning over like this.
Keselowski's put the window net down.
The roof flaps deployed, but it did not sit that car back down. I'm like you, Darrell. I'm going to be so glad to see that rear spoiler back on these cars.
I think that's it's got to be something to that.
That car took a hard hit in the left A pillar, the windshield post right in front of the driver.
You just see how that wing sticks out so far out the back of the car, behind the car. It almost looks, if it'll create downforce with the car going forward, it's got to create a pocket of air behind it when it gets around backwards.
Guys, you saw it right there. Those white gloves, they made a turn to the right.
Brad Keselowski has climbed out of his Penske Dodge. We're under caution with 6 laps to go. There's Brad. He's okay. Helmet, Hans device out.
He wasn't sure.
The best thing is he's walking away.
What a shame.
A fine ride undone. Little limp to his step.
Yeah, he's dazed, man. I mean, like he said, I don't know if I'm all right or not.
He's moving okay.
That looks a little better.
Yeah, much better.
Favoring that left foot.
A little hop in his step. But let's take you back almost a year to the last lap at Talladega in the spring. That's Brad in the black car. They're racing for the win. Carl said he may have come down just a bit. Brad held his line to keep from going over the yellow line. Ryan Newman gets wrecked, and Edwards flies into the fence. Now today, back at lap 41, watch the 12 on the bottom, the red car just barely gets into Edwards, sending Carl up and into Joey Logano, pretty much ruining both their days. Now both those cars were repaired, came back on track many laps down, but here with just a handful of laps to go, Edwards and Keselowski get together again.
All the flaps came open. The cowl flaps came open below the windshield. The roof flaps came open.
I think that if you just, you know, we didn't know this, had no way of knowing this until these cars started getting airborne like that, that rear wing sticking out behind the car so far. I know they say they tested it and they can't really verify that, but it sure looks that way.
But Terrell, I got to ask you, Carl Edwards is 156 laps down. What's going on here?
That was not necessary. Very unnecessary.
The free pass will go to Denny Hamlin. Kurt Busch appeared to be able to hold off Montoya, but we won't know how that would have played out because we'll have a restart here. Let's take this back a lap prior to when they crashed.
See them here. This is coming off turn 4. Whoa.
He was trying hard right there.
I think he was going to give him a little tap right there. Missed him.
And then the next time around, this happens. You know, we talked about rivalries and about the gloves coming off.
Well, you know,
I think they have.
Denny Hamlin and Keselowski in the Nationwide Series have had a little run in. Matter of fact, Hamlin spun Keselowski out, similar to that same situation at Homestead in the last race last year. This is a young man in that 12 car that has not made a lot of friends, but that's not good protocol right there.
Earlier, when Carl climbed out of the car, he had a look at the replay with Dick Berggren, and I think we made the comment, he was very gracious.
I really thought it was his fault, but that replay doesn't look like it was as malicious as I thought.
But he went on to further say, Brad never gives me any room.
Yeah, and I said at the time, remember that I thought when he went and looked at that again, he might change his mind.
I know we showed the highlights of 2 Cup situations, one earlier in this race and then from Talladega. These two also got together at Memphis in the Nationwide Series race. In fact, Keselowski wrecked Edwards over at Memphis.
What you just heard was Bob Osborne telling his driver, Carl Edwards, that NASCAR is parking Edwards for the balance of the race, and he's being called to the NASCAR hauler.
See, this is the fear that NASCAR has to have when they say they're going to let the guys be guys, let their drivers be drivers and take care of things themselves. And this is a fear that they have to have.
He's not doing himself no favor right now going backwards down pit road either. They're not going to like that at all.
So Carl Edwards goes to the garage after contact between he and Brad Keselowski sends Keselowski on his roof, out of the race, and away from what would have been a top 10 finish. Chris?
Mike, thanks. With Jeff Hammond here watching in the Hollywood Hotel. 3 laps to go before the caution coming out. So we're set up. We've had, 5 last lap dramatic finishes here in Atlanta. We might be ready for another one that won't involve Keselowski or Carl Edwards. But expound a little bit on what happens with Carl Edwards now as NASCAR has him parked.
He's getting ready to have a really severe timeout situation. They're going to bring him up there in the truck, make him sit down and have a little word of prayer with him, with Mike Helton and probably Robin Pemberton along with John Darby, because they can clearly see the same thing we saw. He was looking for payback. He found payback. I think he was going to be surprised at the end result. I really believe that Carl thought he could spin him out, send him out down through the
not create the kind of wreck.
But at 180 miles an hour, you have this kind of situation. Here we got just a few laps to go. We're going to find out who's going to go down pit road. It looks like everybody's coming down through here. And Matt Yoakum, it's going to be a race off of pit road now.
Jeff, they were debating what to do for the 9. They are going to go 4 sticker tires and make a significant track bar adjustment for the short run of the finish.
And Kurt Busch coming on to pit road to the attention of the Steve Addington-led crew. He slides to a stop. What they're going to do, they're going to add a little extra air in the right rear tire. A little extra air in the right rear tire for Kurt Busch and 4 tires. They debated not taking fuel to keep some nose weight, but they do put some gas in it.
Thanks very much. As we take a look at the race off pit road,
you can see some of the guys, I think he just took 2 tires versus 4 tires. We're going to be looking at the same scenario we did a week ago. And the interesting part has to be is how they're going to line up on this double file restart shootout style. That's going to be the key right now, is who's out front.
And you also have the chance of 3 with the new rule of green, white checker finishes. You have to consider that. So where are you on the 2-tire, 4-tire for Kurt Busch and a guy like Juan Pablo Montoya?
We've saw all day long that 4 new tires is the way to go. And again, if you can get off of pit road and get clear of this restart, you're going to be the one that's going to wind up winning this race. I think you're going to see some guys going to the outside when other guys can't get up there and get the grip.
Kurt Busch is trying to become the first driver to win back-to-back Atlanta spring races since Cale Yarborough in the 60s. But let's check in with Krista Voda, who's with Brad Keselowski. Krista?
Chris, Brad Keselowski just came out of the care center. The irony is, a year ago, you were watching from victory lane as another car flipped over. Are you okay, and what happened out there?
Yeah, I'm okay. You know, first off, Penske Racing had some phenomenal cars today. Really proud of the 12 team. Everybody on the Mopar 12 Dodge Charger. A lot to be proud of back home in the shop. I think Kurt's got a real good, strong shot at winning it, so I'm really pulling for him. Hopefully he'll get it done for Penske today, but just a wild ride that was uncalled for.
Brad, check this out, too. I know Carl a little earlier, he had some words. He said maybe it wasn't his fault. Then he said it was. He took the blame, but he also said you weren't giving him any room out there.
You know, he cut down on me on a restart, and I lifted. I couldn't lift fast enough for him. I lifted for him to let him in, but I was there. I don't know what more you could do. You know, Carlo, that's what they say. So I was underneath him, tried to cut him a break. It was too late, though. He turned down. So I apologized to him, but there's nothing I could do in that situation. And to come back and just intentionally wreck someone, that's not cool. I mean, it could have killed somebody in the grandstands. And I know that it's a little ironic that it's got me saying that, but at least I didn't do it intentionally when it happened. So it'll be interesting to see how NASCAR reacts to it. They have the ball. If they're going to allow people to intentionally wreck each other at tracks this fast, we will hurt someone either in the cars or in the grandstands. So it's not cool to intentionally wreck somebody at 195 mile an hour.
Thanks, Brad. We're glad you're not hurt. Dick Berggren?
With Carl Edwards, did you intentionally wreck him?
Well, Brad knows the deal between him and I, and you know, the scary part was that his car went airborne, which was not at all what I expected. And you know, at the end of the day, we come out here to race, and people got to have respect for one another, and I have a lot of respect for people's safety. And I wish that wouldn't have gone like it did, but I'm glad he's okay, and we'll just go on and race some more, and maybe him and I won't have any more incidents together. That'd be the best thing.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. You get both sides of the story. 2 tires versus 4 tires?
I would rather go 4 today.
All right, let's go up to Larry, Darrell, and Mike on this.
Well, what I was going to say, and Darrell and I was talking about it, if you were about 8 or on back, like Boyer, Menard, McMurray, I'd go with 2. Remember, we're only going to possibly run 2 laps here. I think if you were Kurt Busch or Montoya, absolutely no choice. You had to go with 4.
Just give me a couple of minutes and I'll let you know.
There's the driver. I'll let you know in the Monday morning meeting.
Right.
There are 3 laps to go. That means a restart with 2 to go. Lights are out on the Camaro pace car. And Paul Menard is in a position to score his best finish ever in Sprint Cup racing.
Mike, Larry, the guys that got 2 should have gotten 2. The guys that got 4 got 4.
I agree, totally.
So I think that's the deal.
We are still within the scheduled race distance. 2 to go. If we get the green this time. Excuse me, we are now in overdrive. We are past the scheduled race distance, which was 325 laps. So this will be the first of up to 3 attempts at green-white checker. The controlling fact is this: if the leader takes the white flag under green, the next flag ends the race. We're not going this time. There were still service trucks out and around the racetrack blowing off debris. So it looks like we'll go one more time under caution. And then it's Clint Boyer, Paul Menard on a track that has produced some absolutely fantastic finishes over the last 5 years. 2005, Carl Edwards. 2007, Jimmy Johnson. Last year, the Deuce, Kurt Busch. And today, who knows? Just don't leave your seat, because in 2 laps we'll have the answer.
This, my friends, will be the wildest one yet.
Yes, sir.
I don't think we're going to get across this start-finish line without some contact of pretty severe nature.
And those finishes we saw, that just barely scratched the surface. You know, we could go on and on, but I think what's got to happen here is when you look at Boyer, Menard, McMurray, they've got to make sure those left side tires are good and cleaned off and not spin them.
Chip Ganassi.
And Felix Sabates up there on the box. As Jamie McMurray, their driver, will line up third.
The Daytona 500 winner slips into the picture ahead of his teammate. We know there's no love there.
Been a long time since Boyer's been to victory lane. And how about Menard? He was our dark horse pick for today. He's got a chance to win it all.
All I can tell you is don't look back, Paul.
No, but I'm going to tell you the car you better watch closely is the man that wants to win so bad, Juan Pablo Montoya in that 42 car. He will be on a mission.
Pretty heavy traffic in front of him. This restart's critical. Don't spin the tires.
Green flag.
Menard did not get going. Look at Montoya. He's going to try to thread the needle up through the middle. 3 wide going into 1.
Busch through the middle and probably to the lead by the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, look at this. It looks like a Daytona restart.
That was the move right there, to get the 3 wide, get down in there and get the lead. Here comes Montoya.
Here comes Kane on the bottom.
No out of bounds here at Atlanta. You can go down below the yellow line.
That was,
McMurray and Boyer get together. Kurt Busch is in it.
Here we go. Another green-white checker.
Mark Martin in the fence.
If we got anybody left.
Caution before the white flag. And you're right, Darrell. If anybody's able to get going, we'll do it again.
Do that to me one more time. Once is never enough.
It's 3 green-white checkered attempts, or if we have enough cars left to do it.
That's it.
Well, Kurt Busch made a move on that restart that said, pay the man. And jumped out to the lead. He's going to have to find a way to do it again.
Fresh deck now, baby. Fresh deck.
Replays beginning with the restart. Watch the deuce.
He timed this perfectly.
Boyer has to lead them to the line. The 33's
See
the race
Menard
leader.
down there. He can't get going. Holds him up just a little bit. Jamie tries to look under and can't make it.
Kurt Busch made the move.
He just forced his way through there.
And Montoya with him. And then McMurray starts to back up a bit.
Yeah, down here in turn 3 is when it gets crazy, because you see here's the 9 down in below the yellow line. That forces the 1 up. And when he forces the 1 up, I think he gets into Boyer. Jamie was trying to block, but he realized he was going way too fast.
And here comes Kenseth. Oh, yeah.
One just walked up the racetrack, gets into Boyer, and it was on from there. Little boy, Mark Martin came in there and hard lick on Martin Truex Jr.
Ambrose, nice job to miss that one. Greg Biffle, too.
48.
And Gilliland.
48. I don't know how he got through there. Watch that 48 car up on the outside here. This all happens right in front of him, and he wiggles his way through.
Well, McMurray was on 2 tires, and when Kenseth got to that left rear quarter panel, it just sent the back around on this car, walked him up the racetrack.
From our direct TV blimp.
Denny Hamlin got some damage in that 11.
Getting down below that yellow line, getting into 3. That's why we have a yellow line rule at Daytona and Talladega, and you can see how it just really shakes things up when you do that.
All that smoke, and where do you go?
Boy, how about Kevin Harvick and Scott Speed just getting through?
Look at the 48. He just winds his way around.
Want to ride with Martin Truex?
I don't want to. You do it.
Still down there, still there. Go down there, you see in front of him. Get all the way to the bottom, get all the way to the bottom. Go all the way to the bottom. Inside. Go.
He got hit by Mark Martin.
He's all the way at the bottom now.
Make it fire nose.
And let's watch from Denny Hamlin.
Still outside, still there, clear to 31. Go low, go on the apron, keep digging, keep digging.
Wow.
Oh.
He almost.
Good job, good job. Come on. So we will have another one.
There's Chip Ganassi, Felix Sabates, and the crew for Montoya. And in Kurt Busch's pit.
Dadgum.
Got to do it again. And here's what Kurt Busch had to say.
10-4. Got to win this race 3 times, maybe even 4 times. I know we've won it twice.
Well, Daytona, it took an extra 20 miles. And here, I don't know how long it may take.
How are we on fuel, Larry?
Oh, everybody's in good shape. Remember, we pitted with about just a few laps ago. So, but I could see why that 42 group was happy, because that puts him right up on the outside of this restart.
Yeah, we're going to have us a little drag racing. Guess who's going drag racing this next week?
Kurt Busch down in Gainesville.
Get a little practice right here on this restart.
Roger Penske up on the roof.
Roger's not real happy right now.
Well, he was about to have 2 cars in the top 10. And then the collision between Edwards and Keselowski. But he still has Kurt Busch in the lead, and Chip Ganassi, who battles Penske not only on this circuit but in the IndyCar Series, has Montoya. In 2 weeks, the world's fastest half mile, Bristol, Tennessee, is the home for NASCAR on Fox. And then we go to the track shaped like a paperclip, Martinsville Speedway, on March 28th, and to the mile in the desert at Phoenix, April 10th. Coverage of NASCAR continues in high definition right here on Fox.
So even though Phoenix is a 1 mile, I'm basically looking at 3 short tracks. We got a lot of people mad at a lot of people.
Got some angry people. And by the way, honey, put the food back in the oven and bring me a belt. I got to tie the TV down. It's getting ready to get rough again.
And for all you people, we said just stay with us for 2 more laps. That's 2 at a time.
Somebody, like I said at Daytona, who was the visionary that came up with this 3 tries?
But this was another case of NASCAR listening to the fans to do everything possible to give them a green flag finish.
And I think the drivers probably weighed in on this too, Larry. You don't want to be riding around there in 3rd place and have something that happens behind you like this rob you of that chance to win.
I don't know. After a day like this, you'll probably go in there and say, are y'all sure this is a good idea?
So the lead lap car is now number 26, beginning with Kurt Busch, Juan Montoya, and Paul Menard, Casey Kane and Matt Kenseth.
We were talking about Richard Petty Motorsports. Now they've got 3 cars in the top 6 right now.
That's right. Allmendinger 6th. Then Truex, Vickers, Biffle, and Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick in the top 10. Boy, Mr. Where did he come from?
And he had the nerve to say that Jimmy Johnson had a horseshoe.
Stuck where?
I think he may have found it wherever it was.
It's a typical Atlanta day. Somebody catches the setup and takes off. For a while it's Kurt Busch, for a while it's Casey Kane. But as you come to the end of the race, that rubber band contracts. We're all right back together again. We've had 1 shot at the 2 lap to go restart. Now we're going to try it again. We predicted 1 big crash on the overdrive restart. How about this time?
Well, I think it could very easily happen again. I mean, you got it. You put it all on the line right here. You can't give anybody a break. Just like we saw Casey Kane go down into 3 on the apron. He'll do it again if he has to.
And Larry, was 2 tires versus 4 tires on that restart. Did that contribute?
Well, no, there's no question. We saw Paul Menard spin the tires, and that opened the door for Kurt Busch. And, the more I thought about the 2 tires, I think I'm going to agree with Jeff Hammond, because what you have to factor in is not 1 attempt at a green-white checkered, 3 attempts. I think that was going to be a lot to ask of just fresh right-side tires. But the pivotal turning point of this race was that caution with about 30 to 35 laps to go that bunched them all back up and gave them a good shot with fairly fresh tires.
So, Jeff, your strategy is looking a lot better at this point.
Well, Mike, the only reason I said that, I really felt like we were going to have a caution. And all of a sudden, the guys with 4 tires are going to get the advantage of these multiple restarts, and it's going to make it better for them. We've already seen what Casey Kane could do. He drove to the bottom of the racetrack. I don't think you could have done that on 2 fresh right-side tires. And the same thing with Kurt Busch. I think that helped him launch. He didn't spin his rear tires like the other guys did, and he's leading this race right now. So I think we're going to have a dogfight between those 2 guys. I mean, it's definitely going to be the clash of the Titans here over the next few laps.
And a bounce-back race for both Montoya and Kurt Busch, because Kurt was 35th in Las Vegas last week. Montoya wrecked early. Remember, was upset with his teammate Jamie McMurray, was 37th. Those are the 2 guys, 1 and 2, as we get ready for the restart.
I would not want to be in Kurt Busch's position with Juan Pablo Montoya lining up beside of me on this restart, because he's got nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I really look for Juan Pablo to throw caution to the wind, and we'll obviously see a pretty spectacular run just on this restart.
It is Oscar night, so you can't a script, right? If you're writing this script, Darryl.
Just skip right out the window.
By the way, Darryl, we're blaming you. You said to Carl Edwards in the pre-race show, show me from the show me state. That's how we got into this.
That's a bad idea. That wasn't really what I had in mind, I promise you. But listen, guys, if this was last year, the race would be over right now. Right? And Paul Menard and those guys with 2 tires would have looked pretty brilliant.
Yes, absolutely.
But with the new deal where you got 3 tries, how many? We're going to probably have 3 tries, and you're going to need those tires.
Well, Kurt Busch has got to run time trial laps if he can keep Montoya away from his rear bumper.
He's got to burn out there like John Force, baby.
And you can't forget that other car that's back there that had one of the best cars a good part of this race, Casey Kane at 9. I don't think he's ready just to throw in the towel just yet.
I don't know. I think 2 laps and 2 laps more, and we'll be saying, Harvick, where did he come from?
He's getting there. He is getting there. Top 10.
Early contact sent Carl Edwards into the wall from Keselowski, and they have a history both in the Cup and in the Nationwide Series.
Does that not look like Talladega?
Gosh, it does. But here's Edwards many laps down, gets to Keselowski, turns him around, didn't mean to turn him over, he said. But that brought out the caution, setting things up for this. We get the late restart with 2 to go. Jamie McMurray's car wiggles, gets into Boyer, and here comes everybody else. So now with pit stops and wave arounds and repositioning, 26 lead lap cars.
Lucky
Kurt
dogs
Busch,
and wave
Kurt
around.
Busch has led more laps than anyone but Casey Kane today. And we'll get 1 to go and try it for a second time. Montoya second, trying to win his first Sprint Cup oval race. Menard looking for his best finish ever. Casey Kane trying to come back. Matt Kenseth in the top 5. A.J. Allmendinger having a career day. Brian Vickers, strong performance. Biffle back of the pack all the way up to 8th. Truex 9th. Harvick 10th.
What about Penske versus Chip Ganassi? I mean, this is like watching an Indy 500 right now. Those 2 guys going at each other. Here they are fighting out for a win here in Atlanta today.
This is the 3rd time we've had green-white checker here. October 2007 and March of 2009. Not that it matters a lot at this point, but Ryan Newman gets the free pass.
It just puts him right in the middle of the eye of the storm.
Montoya driving the same car, the exact same car in which he nearly won last year at Indianapolis at the 400.
I hope he gets to race it again. The way things are going, I wouldn't guarantee it.
I'm sure that group sitting on that pit box feels the same way. In case I should tell you again, you might want to pull your belts tight one more time.
Better start screaming biggity, 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 because we're going to have to do it here, brother.
All right, second attempt at an overdrive finish. If the leader takes the white flag under green, the next flag ends the race.
Whoa.
Oh, big start for Kurt Busch.
Yeah, and the 9 car got in the back of the 42, and Kurt Busch is long gone.
Here comes Kenseth way on the bottom past Menard.
There's Montoya fighting on the high side in that 42 car.
Everybody trying to get some. Lap and a half to go.
Yeah, that was a bad restart. That really messed Montoya up.
Truex got shuffled way back on that one. And Kurt Busch is running time trial laps. He doesn't have Kenseth on his bumper. The next flag ends the race.
All right. We're in the money lap now.
Menard holding a top 5 against Allmendinger, Vickers, and Biffle.
And he's holding a top 5 with only 2 fresh tires right now.
Kenseth closing the gap. Kurt Busch off turn number 4. Kurt Busch is going to win it for Roger Penske. The Blue Deuce goes to victory lane again in Atlanta. Clean and green finish. Finally.
Good job, guys. Good job.
Way to go, boys. Awesome pit stop. That is the way to do it.
They got this place dialed in, Larry. That 2 car does.
Well, it doesn't seem to matter who the crew chief, but I'm very happy for Steve Addington, the man that won 12 races with Kyle Busch. Things got a little sideways over there. Penske Racing picked him up when Pat Tryson decided to go to Michael Waltrip Racing, and now Steve Addington's back in victory lane.
When you got it, boys.
It is the 3rd Cup victory at Atlanta for Kurt Busch, his 2nd straight in the spring race and his 21st career Sprint Cup win. That's
I do believe that's Paul Menard's first career top 5 finish, finishing 5th.
Correct.
And again, Larry, I just want to say he didn't luck into that either. He ran good all day long. He's run good all weekend here.
Let's see, isn't this where Kurt Busch created the unwind lap about a year ago?
Oh, yeah, he backed around this joint.
A great second place for Matt Kenseth, coming out of 14th starting position. Montoya 3rd, Casey Kane 4th, Paul Menard 5th, and A.J. Allmendinger 6th. So Richard Petty Motorsports finishes the day 4, 5, 6.
There he goes again. A mile and a half backwards.
Folks are going to be here a while. Don't take dinner out of the oven yet, honey.
He can get all the way around before we're done with this commercial break.
He's got practice now.
Follow the yellow brick road.
Here's your checkers, baby. Way to do it, champ. Oh, the Deuce is back.
The Deuce is back in victory lane. Kurt Busch's last 3 wins have come on mile-and-a-half tracks, including back-to-back spring races here in Atlanta. Matt Yoakum is in victory lane.
For the second straight year, a drama-filled overtime win. I don't know what was more impressive, the teamwork. I don't know what was more impressive, the teamwork or your 2 power moves on those restarts.
I'm just so happy to bring this car home to victory lane. I mean, with Steve Addington, all of his new ideas, I never knew how we could mesh them together and how soon we were able to do it. So we were able to get it right and hit it just perfect with the marks today. Even on all the restarts at the end, I just felt like we had the car to beat. And we were racing that other 9 car today, and it's great to bring home Miller Lite on top. And for Dodge, this is a big win. And when Kurt wins, somebody's going to win a Dodge Challenger. So hopefully you got your UPC labels in. I'm just so excited for this team and all of our associate sponsors right now.
This team gelled so quickly. In fact, at one point they told you had to quit going to the shop so much because they couldn't get work done. How important to knock off this win so early?
I just think it's the most important thing to have communication early on and to make sure that you get in tune and to know where everybody stands and how is Steve being absorbed, how is he delegating the work. And so I'm just really happy to bring it on home. I mean, just thanks to Miller Lite, to Dodge, to Sprint, all the fans that were here, and of course all the fans watching on TV. I mean, we got a great combination right now. And to some of our associate sponsors, thank you so much. And a new one, Tag Heuer, sunglasses. I don't even know where my eyewear is right now. I'm just so excited. Probably fell on the right side doing my reverse lap.
A reverse lap of trip to victory lane, and he climbs to 10th unofficially in the championship standings. Chris?
All right, thanks. Kurt Busch leading 129 laps, but the restart, you heard him talk about it, and Casey Kane had trouble in this restart.
Yeah, he had trouble right there. He was trying to make a run, I think, get a jump on Juan Pablo Montoya. Montoya didn't go. He gets in the back of him, and because of all that, the 98 didn't get going. Guess who got going? That Blue Deuce. He took off like he was, I mean, on fire, and nobody could catch him.
And how difficult is it to win back-to-back spring races in Atlanta? Hasn't been done since the late 60s by Cale Yarborough, but Kurt Busch does it, and with that, gains 9 positions in points, so he's up to 10th. Kevin Harvick remains your leader.
And the reason why he's still the leader, a great comeback today. He struggled all day long, but at the end of the day, Gil Martin and everybody at RCR got him a top 10 finish. He finished 9th, holds on to that point lead.
Steve Addington, the crew chief, you heard Kurt Busch talking about him, and the captain.
Yeah, there's the captain down there, Roger Penske. He's got to be elated. Now, look, I questioned Steve Addington and whether or not this marriage was working. Well, I pronounce him man and wife because it definitely worked today. They were able to come back and make this car like he needed it and to be able to go back-to-back, as you've already pointed out. It's not easy to do here in Atlanta, and they did it today as far as this team's concerned.
Pronounce a man and a victor, and for Roger Penske, 15 Indy 500 wins as an owner, a Daytona 500 win, but hanging with here in this combination, victory lane for Kurt Busch. Meanwhile, Matt Kenseth finishing second in points. He's with our Steve Burns.
Well, Matt, that was a wild finish to say the least. I think the fans got their money's worth, but talk about it from your perspective.
It's crazy. I mean, when you do that at the end and some had 4 and some had 2, and you kind of, you know, I could have bet about anything there was going to be a wreck on the first one because there's just so many different people on different tires, and this place gets so slick, even on 2 tires, it was going to be difficult. So I'm happy we were in the right place at the right time and got 2 good, clean restarts and was able to make a couple spots up.
So a good day.
It was a great day. It's been a great 4 weeks. We've had a great great start to the season. We had a lot of fun today. We had just superb pit stops today. The adjustments were good. It was just overall, it's a great day for us. We weren't quite good enough to run with the couple fastest cars, but you know, we could run third or fourth all day, and just overall, it was a good, solid day for us.
See you at Bristol.
All right, thanks.
Juan Montoya, solid day today, but you came so close to that checkered flag. How disappointing is it?
No, you know, the point we didn't finish second, but it got me by surprise. You know, we had those two lines that we were supposed to start with, and he went probably like 40 yards before the first line, and it really surprised me. You know, it's not a big deal. He deserves to win. I'm not going to say, oh, he shouldn't won because he did that. He just want to make sure, you know, for next time NASCAR knows about it, but it's okay. You know, that car we were a lot better in the long run. In short run, he was good. Well, you know, we pumped up the tires there at the end, but it was so tight it wouldn't turn. So it's okay. We needed this. You know, show everybody that, you know, we've been there every week. It's just a lot of things happen, so it's nice to get a clean result. Car in one piece, ran against the fence all day, so I'm pretty proud.
Congratulations. Solid run today.
Well, Casey Kane has won here before. He could smell the victory today for a while. Anything you do different? Talk about that final restart.
Well, we just got tight, so I couldn't run through the corner as fast as we needed to. We didn't quite stay up with it. We were really dominant at times, but Budweiser Ford was good. We had a good day. We missed it at the end, and the restarts were crazy. I'd spin the tires sometimes, and Juan spun them there, and I was trying to push him, and we were sideways, and it was just a mess. But I had a good time. I wish we would have ran better. I wish we would have won the race, but we had a good car. We came close.
And in the big picture, this 9-team climbing back up in the points.
Thanks, Krista and Casey. Kane led the most laps today, 144, but there's your winner, the 2004 Sprint Cup champion, the winner today in the Kobalt Tools 500. More on the Carl Edwards finish here in just a moment. Promotional considerations provided by another great finish here in Atlanta, and there is the winner, Kurt Busch, and his crew chief. You heard him thank his pit crew over the radio transmission, and the 4-tire, 2-tire debate, dilemmas, which is a lot of fun. They went with 4. You said they should. It worked out.
Well, the way it was, they were in the right position. The crew responded, had a solid stop. They gave Kurt, just like last week, and I had that big debate about whether or not you take 4 or 2. Today, they gave him the ability to maneuver that car around. He was able to get a great restart, and that was the difference between winning and losing today.
Yeah, 3 laps to go. It looked like Kurt Busch was going to win it, and then Carl Edwards gets into Brad Keselowski. Keselowski had wrecked Carl Edwards earlier, some 40 laps into the race, so we know about their history going back to Talladega last year. And then, of course, NASCAR, and Brad Keselowski was okay, by the way. His feelings hurt a little bit, and Carl saying he didn't mean intentionally to flip him, but it was obvious. Payback, you know, usually if you're going to get revenge, you have to make it has to look less obvious.
Well, I think he clearly was on a mission, and he got the job done. But as you pointed out, he didn't mean to get him upside down. But this rear wing is one of the byproducts of cars flipping and flying. Everything else was working, but the car still got off the ground. Thank goodness for this safer car and safer barriers, because at least Brad Keselowski was able to walk away from this crash.
Yeah, Keselowski has started it, has a few other enemies out there, but real quick, because Carl Edwards is a likable guy, but in 06 nationwide race, he confronts Dale Earnhardt Jr. 07 goes after Matt Kenseth, Martinsville race. 08 with Harvick in the garage in Charlotte, they almost fight. Earlier this year, called Kyle Busch an idiot on the radio at Las Vegas. So is this a guy, obviously he wants to win, he smiles a lot, but is he a guy who is a little bit dangerous when you get him out on the track, temper-wise?
He might be a little bit sneaky, but he doesn't take anything off anybody. You at least know that if you mess with Carl Edwards, this could be wind up what you're going to get. I mean, you're not going to push him around, that's for sure.
And frustration maybe not having won a race last year. And the tempers will heat up. Kurt Busch has had success as we go to Bristol in 2 weeks, but certainly between Keselowski, Carl Edwards, Juan Pablo Montoya, we'll see some guys going back at each other.
We haven't seen anything yet until we get to Bristol.
Tonight on Fox, coming up, The Simpsons at 8 Eastern, Family Guy at 9 Eastern. It's animation domination. You'll laugh out loud. And we mentioned Bristol coming up in 2 weeks, an off week after this. Kyle Busch swept both Bristol races last year, the younger brother, of course, of Kurt.
And I was going to say, don't forget that Kurt Busch is awful good at Bristol also. He's won a lot of races there, too. So I think he's carrying momentum into Bristol here in 2 weeks.
So Carl Edwards, who came in with 3 wins on this track, creates a stir at the end, and Kurt Busch survives overtime, a second green-white checker. The King telling A.J. Allmendinger, who finished 6th, way to hang in there. Meanwhile, pole sitter Dale Earnhardt Jr. never led a lap. We counted at least a dozen drivers complaining about some tire issues, which had an effect on the race.
But throughout all those tire issues, he kept battling. He wound up with a 15th place finish, and it might not sound like a lot, but that could be huge as we go toward this chase.
And Jimmy Johnson, trying to win his third straight race, wound up 12th. For our entire crew, Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, we'll see you in 2 weeks from Bristol Motor Speedway at noon Eastern. By the way, happy birthday to A.D. Fran Morrison. Have a good one from NASCAR on Fox.